here at H&L Rapid True Value for building supplies. The time by H&L Rapid True Value is
Nationwide time, 5 o'clock.
From the Nationwide News Network, comprehensive, incisive, tough. This is Nationwide at 5.
Good afternoon, I'm Ricardo Brooks.
And I'm Robian Williams.
In Nationwide news at this hour, the Supreme Court will begin to digitally record court proceedings in the criminal courts come April.
JFJ says the police needs to do more to build a partnership with citizens to further reduce the crime rate.
You talk about the clear-up rate, it is also dependent on number of people coming forward, saying to the police that I witnessed this particular crime in my area.
Economist Keenan Faulkner confident the Jamaican economy will recover quickly after its 3.5% contraction for the third quarter of last year.
Grief counseling carried out at Jesse Rapal Primary School following the tragic death of Principal O'Neill Stevens and his wife, Kamisha.
30 guidance counselors, 17 principals and 1 nurse from Region 1, among others, visited the school today to provide immediate assistance.
St. Elizabeth police are being called upon to swiftly arrest the perpetrators behind this morning's fiery protest in Exton.
In news from the rest of the world, in Trinidad and Tobago, the governing PNM names Energy Minister Stuart Young as Keith Rowley's successor.
The U.S. Congress has formally certified that Donald Trump won the 2024 election.
In headline sports, West Indies arrives in Islamabad for the start of a 2-test series against Pakistan.
And later in our broadcast, in the cover story at 5:35, the Security Minister Dr. Horace Chang says he's confident in the ability of the Jamaica Constabulary Force to reduce the number of murders recorded annually to below 1,000. The JCF's Senior Communications Strategist, SSP Dennis Brooks, will join us.
In Public Opinion at 6:26, we ask, what's the worst road in your constituency? Give us your comments by logging on to our Facebook page, Nationwide News Network, and by tweeting us at Nationwide Radio, and message us on WhatsApp at 876-285-5693. You can also leave your comments on Instagram at Nationwide 90FM.
In the nation's business at 6:40 as the new school term begins, the JTA is restating calls for fair compensation for its members and improved classroom conditions for students. President Dr. Mark Smith will join us. We'll also hear from the President of the National Parent-Teacher Association of Jamaica, Stuart Jacobs.
And at 7, Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau says he intends to resign as leader of the ruling Liberal Party and as Prime Minister after being at the helm of the party for 11 years and Prime Minister for 9. We'll hear from founder and leader of the United Progressive Party of Canada, Carlton Darby.
All these and more as we take you home on air on your mobile, Nationwide 90 FM, Nationwide Radio JM.com, and on the Nationwide app. Available on the Google Play and the App Store. This Monday afternoon, it's Monday, January 6, 2025.
If it's news, it's got to be Nationwide 90 FM.
And now to the details. The Supreme Court will begin to digitally record court proceedings in the criminal courts come April. Chief Justice Brian Sykes made the announcement at the swearing-in ceremony of judges at King's House, St. Andrew, on Monday.
We are now in a position to say that we'll begin digital recording of court proceedings in the criminal courts in the Easter term, that is April. The posts have been created, the rules are in place, as is the work of the committee led by Honorable Mr. Justice Leighton Pusey. A lot of work went in there over the last couple of years, and so we are now there.
The move comes in a bid to improve the efficiency of information management in the justice system. Justice Sykes says the training will include all the relevant court members.
Training is to be received through collaboration with one of our international partners, and that will include everybody, judges, digital clerks, the transcriptionists, defense counsel, everyone, because it is going to necessitate changing practices and the way the courts operate and the rhythm and flow of work in the courts. So the practice of witnesses coming out, and when the witnesses are transitioning, counsel pops up, "Oh, Judge, may I mention the matter of so and so and so. It will only take 5 or 10 minutes and it becomes 20 minutes. That will now have to come to an end because to get the best out of digital recording, you need to have the continuous recording of the evidence.
Brian Sykes, the Chief Justice. 5 judges were sworn in by Deputy Governor General Stedman Fuller during today's ceremony at King's House. They are Judge of Appeal Justice Kisok Leng, Acting Judge of Appeal Justice Georgiana Fraser, Acting Puny Judges Opal Smith and Tracy Ann Johnson, and Acting Master in Chambers Christine McNeil. All 5 will serve in the Court of Appeal and the Supreme Court.
Meanwhile, Justice Sykes says for a third consecutive year, the Court of Appeal remains on track to further reduce its backlog of cases.
The Court of Appeal is on course again this year to dispose of more cases than cases coming in. It means that this will be the third year that is happening. What the statisticians will tell us is that when you have that performance for 3 consecutive years, then that is now confirmed as the now current standard of the courts. Speaking the language of ordinary persons now, what it means is that in time the Court of Appeal will reduce its backlog.
Chief Justice Brian Sykes.
Executive Director of Jamaicans for Justice JFJ, Michael Jackson, says the JCF needs to do more to build a partnership between citizens and the police as it works to further reduce crime. She made the point as she commended the JCF for the 19% reduction in murders recorded in 2024.
I think there is room for more improvement, and I'm going to focus, for example, on citizen-police relations. You talk about the clear-up rate. It is also dependent on number of people coming forward, saying to the police that I witnessed this particular crime in my area. I think these are the persons that you're looking for, and I trust you enough to give you that information. So I think more improvement is needed on that front going forward.
Ms. Jackson says the police needs to do more at the community level to combat interpersonal conflicts that lead to murders.
We focus heavily on the number of gangs being dismantled in the country because some 70% of the murders are attributed to them. But I think more needs to be done with the domestic area. So, for example, 30% of the crime, they say, happens in the domestic setting. You see a number of situations that are quite alarming where family members are contracting murderers to kill another family member over land and that sort of a thing. How do you tackle some of those elements within the community settings so that you can also deal with that 30% that is attributed to domestic disputes?
Michael Jackson, the Executive Director of Jamaicans for Justice.
Meanwhile, Michael Jackson notes that more needs to be done to build trust in law enforcement at the community level.
Based on our experiences within the communities, nationally you're seeing improved trust levels in the police force. But I think when you start going into the communities that historically have had some trust issues with the police, the numbers start dwindling down, which is why, again, we don't support the continued use of the state of public emergency. For JFJ, not only is it in breach of the Constitution in terms of the manner within which it is being utilized, I think it erodes the public trust, especially in the communities that historically have had low levels of trust with police personnel.
Michael Jackson, Executive Director of Jamaicans for Justice, JFJ.
Economist Keenan Faulkner is confident the economy will recover quickly following the recent contraction. He's reacting to news that the economy declined by 3.5% for the July to September quarter of 2024. Mr. Faulkner says the government must do more in terms of capital development to stimulate economic activity. Siobhan Campbell tells us more.
The economy contracted by 3.5% for the third quarter of 2024, mostly driven by the impact of Hurricane Beryl. However, even before the passage of the storm, the economy showed signs of slowing. Economist Keenan Faulkner says while slightly higher than expected, the contraction is not a surprise.
Yeah, so I think that just followed the general trend of deceleration in the economy. I think that Beryl merely compounded what had already been a loss of steam in the post-pandemic period. And although the 3.5% was larger than initially anticipated, it does not really give the government much room for maneuver in terms of the fact that that deceleration in growth has been translated to tax revenue, where overperformance had started itself to decelerate until now, as we have seen at the end of November, there was underperformance of around $7 billion in total revenues and grants.
He's urging the government to focus on capital projects for its upcoming budget in March. Mr. Faulkner says this will help stimulate economic activity in tandem with the recent monetary decisions taken by the Bank of Jamaica.
Going into the budget period, then there might be some amount of constraint in terms of the ability to spend in order to sort of kickstart the Jamaican economy again. The government will have to put more money into its capital budget to be able to spend on items that are necessarily growth-inducing, and that includes mostly infrastructure development as well as other items of capital expenditure. But I think also that the loosening of the monetary environment will help in terms of augmenting government revenues because business activity can start to pick up more steam.
However, the economist believes the country will bounce back relatively quickly from the recent shock. He says this is a testament to the earned resilience in the Jamaican economy.
I think so, and I think the country will do so relatively quickly because projections currently now indicate that the recovery period is expected to last less than a year, and that is a testament to the resilience of the Jamaican economy that has been, embedded because of the additional stability that we have experienced over the last decade, where crises would have taken somewhere between 8 and 15 years to get back to recovering lost output from a shock. So I think we can be cautiously optimistic going forward that we'll be able to be on a growth path in a relatively short space of time.
Siobhan Campbell for Nationwide News.
Meanwhile, Mr. Faulkner believes it's imperative the government do more to incentivize the private sector in order to achieve meaningful growth. He says the Prime Minister's recently announced Aspire initiative is a step in the right direction.
Well, it's the responsibility of the government to put that conducive environment in terms of its fiscal and macroeconomic policy for the private sector to thrive. And I think the Prime Minister would have articulated as much in his pivot towards growth and trying to get efficiency gain. And that must now necessarily be complemented by an increase in the skill level of those persons who are employed in the labor force, as well as being able to attract new industries. So whereas government sets the general tone for its economic framework, that has to be translated into the real economy by the private sector.
Keenan Faulkner, economist, he was speaking with Nationwide News on Monday. According to Prime Minister Holness, Aspire is a comprehensive strategy aimed at transitioning Jamaica towards robust and inclusive economic growth.
Now, grief counselling was done with the staff at Jesse Paul Primary School in St. Andrew this morning following the tragic death of Principal O'Neill Stevens and his wife, Kamisha. The Education Minister, Dr. Dana Morris Dixon, says 30 guidance counsellors were among the cohort who visited the school.
The Ministry of Education has mobilized its resources to support the Jesse Paul Primary School community as they navigate the tragic loss of their beloved principal, Mr. Stevens, and his wife. Representatives from the ministry, including the Chief Education Officer, the Regional Director, 30 guidance counselors, 17 principals, and 1 nurse from Region 1, among others, visited the school today to provide immediate assistance. In addressing the needs of the staff, the ministry began the day with professional grief counseling sessions, which are part of a comprehensive plan to offer support during this challenging period.
Mr. Stevens and his wife were killed in an accident in the United States on January 3. They were mowed down by a truck while repairing a flat tire in South Carolina. Jesse Paul was closed today. Dr. Morris Dixon says affected students will also receive counseling when classes resume tomorrow.
Later in the day, a prayer meeting led by pastors from the Roman Catholic Church was also held. Students will return to school tomorrow, and the ministry will focus on supporting the emotional needs of the students while providing resources to help them process their grief. The ministry's trauma and grief counseling teams will remain engaged with Jesse Paul Primary School in the coming days and weeks to offer continuous assistance as the school community works through this period of loss and healing.
Dr. Dana Morris Dixon, the Minister of Education. You're listening to the news on Nationwide at 5. We'll have more after these.
Value Drug Pharmacy offers curbside pickup and delivery of your branded and generic drugs. WhatsApp your prescription to 876-881-6695. The time by Value Drug Pharmacy is
15 minutes after 5.
Rentokil Initial offers air purification solutions with triple filtration and unique auto-sensing capabilities that neutralizes malodor and replaces it with clean air. Call Rentokil Initial at 926-4236 for more details.
The temperature by Rentokil is
30 degrees Celsius in Kingston, 27 out west in Montego Bay. Continuing the news, Councillor for the Junction Division in Southeast St. Elizabeth, Satani Holness, is calling on the police to swiftly arrest the perpetrators behind Monday's fiery protest in Exton. It's reported that early Monday morning, PNP supporters mounted roadblocks in the square to protest the installation of Mayor Norman Scott as constituency caretaker. Councillor Holness says the protest caused significant damage to the main road and disrupted the transit of commuters.
I condemn the approach that is taken by the PNP supporters. They could have opted for a peaceful demonstration where their voice would have still be heard. The road that was fixed by our Member of Parliament is now badly damaged and will be an additional cost to the taxpayers of this country. I am calling on the Jamaica Constabulary Force to move in swiftly, conduct an investigation and bring those who involved to justice. Because what has happened caused a major disruption to schools, to those who go into work, and our business community.
Scott, who is the mayor of Spanish Town, is poised to represent the PNP at the next general election due later this year. Images obtained by our news center showed debris burning in Exton Square. This included a burnt drum, several pieces of rust metal, 3 branches, a torn-down sign, and stones. Members of the Jamaica Fire Brigade were seen extinguishing the blaze. Police personnel were also on scene. Councillor Holness has also dismissed comments that the protest was organized by supporters of the JLP.
I take note of the fact that the Council of Myersville is saying the demonstration is organized in Southeast St. Elizabeth by the Jamaica Labour Party. As Councillor of the Junction Division, where the community of Exton falls, we want to let them know that we are not interested in PNP business. We have an outstanding Member of Parliament by the name of Frank Witter that we are extremely proud of, a man who is for the people and is working for the people.
Satani Holness, Councillor for the Junction Division in Southeast St. Elizabeth.
Meanwhile, Mayor Scott is asserting that no member of the People's National Party was involved in or supported the protest in Exton. In a statement on Monday, the Spanish Town mayor says the disruption affected residents, commuters and businesses in the area, causing undue stress and delays. He notes that the PNP remains committed to peaceful dialogue and constructive engagement. According to Mayor Scott, progress and change can only be achieved through peaceful means that promotes unity and understanding within communities. He says the PNP is dedicated to addressing the genuine concerns of the people of Southeast St. Elizabeth.
The man who was fatally shot by the police after he reportedly attacked his father on DeCarteret Road in Mandeville on Monday has been identified. Dead is O'Creary Gale. According to reports, Gale used a machete to attack his 77-year-old father around 8 Monday morning, inflicting multiple chop wounds. The police were called to the scene, where Gale, still armed with the machete, reportedly confronted them. He was subsequently shot by the officers and later pronounced dead at hospital. Nationwide News has obtained a video of the incident. The police can be heard instructing Gale to drop the machete. We warn that some listeners may find this audio disturbing.
I am King Jones. I am King Jones. Drop the machete. Drop the machete. Drop the machete. Drop the machete.
Oh my God, them kill Kerry. The man chop up his father. Oh my God. No, sir.
Gail's father was rushed to the hospital where he's currently receiving treatment for his injuries. He's said to be in stable condition.
World in a Minute is brought to you by ABC Electrical Sales. We make things as easy as ABC. Hose assembly and supply, equipping Jamaica for success.
And Charles O'Connor Consulting Network, COCN, driven by international accounting standards, modern technology and integrity.
The World in a Minute.
In regional news, outgoing Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, Dr. Keith Rowley, has revealed that the People's National Movement, the PNM's Parliamentary Caucus, has thrown its support behind Stuart Young to lead them. Dr. Rowley made the revelation on Monday afternoon while speaking with members of the media in Tobago following the PNM's parliamentary retreat. On January 3 this year, Dr. Rowley announced that he would not contest the 2025 general election. The Prime Minister says he'll resign before the end of the legal limits of the term. The latest announcement means Stuart Young will be the new Prime Minister when Dr. Rowley resigns. Young currently serves as the Minister of Energy and Energy Industries and Minister in the Office of the Prime Minister. He was elected as a Member of Parliament in the September 2015 general election. He's a practicing attorney.
4 years to the day after a mob of Donald Trump's supporters violently besieged the U.S. Capitol, Congress formally certified the incoming president's re-election in a special session. Vice President Kamala Harris presided over the event as required by the U.S. Constitution. But the shadow of January 6, 2021 lingered over Monday's proceedings, despite Trump and his allies' campaign to recast the attack as a day of love. Current President Joe Biden vowed there would be no repeat of the violence 4 years ago. Trump celebrated the moment on Truth Social, writing, quote, "Congress certifies our great election victory today, a big moment in history." Though the results declared Trump the victor, Harris received a standing ovation from the Democratic side of the chamber when she read out her own electoral vote tally. Meanwhile, Trump has asked a New York judge to halt the sentencing in his felony hush money case, which is scheduled for January 10. Trump was found guilty on 34 felony counts of falsifying business records in May 2024, making him the first former president convicted of a crime. The charges stemmed from Trump's attempt to disguise reimbursements for a hush money payment to an adult film star as legal expenses.
World in a Minute was brought to you by ABC Electrical Sales. We make things as easy as ABC. Hose assembly and supply, equipping Jamaica for success.
And Charles O'Connor Consulting Network, COCN, driven by international accounting standards, modern technology and integrity.
Recapping the top stories making nationwide news at this hour, the Supreme Court will soon begin digitally recording court proceedings come April.
JFJ says the police needs to do more to build a partnership with citizens to further reduce the crime rate.
Economist Keenan Faulkner confident the economy will recover quickly after its 3.5% contraction in the third quarter of last year.
Grief counseling carried out at Jesse Rapal Primary School following the tragic death of Principal O'Neill Stevens and his wife, Kamisha.
I'm Ricardo Brooks.
And I'm Robianne Williams.
Listeners, you can find the news on our website at nationwideradiojm.com and on the Nationwide app available on the Google Play and the App Store. News next, the headlines at 6.
Jamaica, let's spread the word around to let the world know that we are proud to be one republic. We on the road to republic. Well then, let's propel we nation moving forward in a new direction. True independence, that's the projection. No more dependency, it's the best plan. Yes, we know what's best for us, cause we want we country prosperous. So make we just pull together as the general public while on the road to republic. Jamaica, let's spread the word around to let the world know that we are proud to be one republic. We on the road to republic.
A message from the Ministry of Legal and Constitutional Affairs.
We on the road to republic.
Z Jamaica Robotics Conference, Tuesday, January 7, 2025, 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. at the Jamaica Pegasus Ballroom, celebrating the achievements of over 100 students and teachers who have achieved certification. Special guest speaker, Dr. Denzel Williams. Presentation by Zebra Robotics Canada. Sponsors, Lasco, Mothers, and Optimity. Tickets available for purchase at ztechnologies.aitix.com or contact 876-880-3301 or 876-499-3157. And tune in to Cliff Hughes Online from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. as we broadcast live from the Z Robotics Conference, Tuesday, January 7, 2025, at the Jamaica Pegasus Ballroom. All this and more only on Nationwide 90 FM, the new revolution in media. This broadcast is brought to you by Z Technologies.
Are you ready to turn your sales and marketing skills into high earnings? Nationwide 90 FM is searching for business development executives to help us grow our business and build lasting client relationships. If you have experience across all stages of the sales cycle and possess strong communication, negotiation, and time management skills with a proven sales track record, this opportunity is perfect for you. Join our team and work with the top corporate brands, media agencies, and of course, our on-air personalities. Enjoy networking opportunities, professional growth, and competitive commissions. Ready to take the next step? Send your resume to hr@nationwidenewsnetwork.com today.
Sports at 5 is brought to you by Total Tools. They almost always have it.
Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to Sports here on Nationwide 90 FM. I'm Wayne Walker. Former champions Portmore United are leading Tivoli Gardens 1-0 after 20 minutes in the Array and Nephew Jamaica Premier League game at the Tony Spalding Sports Complex. A little later on at 7:45, Cavalier, the champions, will take on Waterhouse in the feature game of the doubleheader. Jamaica's national under-17 football team defeated Salesian Bajor 3-2 in their opening game of the Torneo del Sol in Mexico today. Seymour Reed scored a double for the Jamaicans, while Cadriano Marsh bagged the other. The young Reggae Boys will be back in action, and this as they take on Salesian Norte on Tuesday morning at 10:30 Jamaica time. This tournament has been used in preparation for the CONCACAF Under-17 qualifiers, which will get going in February. The West Indies cricket team arrived in Pakistan a few hours ago to fine-tune preparation for a two-match test series. The team touched down in Islamabad on Monday from Dubai for their first test series in Pakistan in 18 years. The Caribbean team will kick off their preparation with a three-day practice game against the Pakistan Shaheens, and that starts on Friday. Before the three-day warm-up game, the West Indies will engage in 2 days of intense training, Wednesday and Thursday. The West Indies and Pakistan last played in a test series in Pakistan in 2006, though the West Indies visited for limited overs matches on 3 occasions since 2018. Pakistan lead the head-to-head record test meeting with West Indies. They've won 21 of their 54 meetings. The West Indies 18-15 ended in drawn results. The last test series between the two teams took place in 2021 in the Caribbean, which concluded in a 1-1 draw. The first test in the current series will begin on January 17, the second 8 days later, both games to be played in Multan. South Africa finally broke Pakistan's resistance on the fourth day of the second test to complete a 2-0 series win and to finish top of the World Test Championship table. Following on 421 runs behind, the tourists showed much more resolve in their second innings to reach parity and to set the Proteas a small target of 58 in the final session of the day. South Africa made light work of the target. Former Durham batter David Bedingham promoted up the order from number 5. He smashed 44 of 30 deliveries. Victory in Cape Town was built on a huge first innings total of 615 all out. Opener Ryan Rickleton top scored. He made it 259. Final score, South Africa 615 and 58 without loss. Pakistan 194 and 478. South Africa's victory ensures they head into June's World Test Championship final against Australia, having topped the table for the 2-year cycle. Chairman of the Jamaica College Board, Lance Hilton, says the Dark Blues are focused on dethroning Kingston College as champions of Boys and Girls Championship. The prestigious high school track and field championship is set for the National Stadium March 25 to 29. The famed Purples are celebrating their 100th anniversary and have hopes of securing the 36th hold on the Champs Trophy. However, Hilton is encouraging Kingston College to be satisfied with winning the 2024 Manning Cup and the Olivier Shield football titles.
We're coming this year, so one of my forces friends just say, I know it's a centenary, but I mean, I know you're satisfied with the Manning Cup, and because there's nothing else. We will honor you, and so Manning and Olivia, and so I know you're good with that, because don't look to the, champ.
That's Lance Hilton, chairman of the board for Jamaica College. And that will do it for sports. We're going to be back with much more, though, at 6:05 this evening.
Sports at 5 was brought to you by Total Tools. They almost always have it.
Since 2016, 156,000 more Jamaicans are working. This is more than any other time in our history. Your government is caring for you.
The time brought to you by the Office of the Prime Minister is
5:30.
Label Crafts Jamaica Limited offers exceptional finishes that will make your product extraordinary at an affordable cost. The temperature brought to you by Label Crafts Jamaica Limited. The #1 choice for label printing is
30 degrees Celsius here in the nation's capital, Kingston. It's 27 in the western city, Montego Bay.
Importers, clear customs, not your schedule. Download the JA Customs Connect mobile app from the Google Play and Apple App Stores and enjoy the ease to calculate your customs duties, search for tariff codes, track and trace your shipments, pay your declarations, and so much more, all in a click, right at your fingertips. So save time, save money. Download the JA Customs Connect mobile app today. It's fast, safe, and convenient. For more information, visit jacustoms.gov.jm. JA Customs Connect mobile app, powered by the Jamaica Customs Agency. Jamaica Customs, keeping our customers in focus.
For all your electrical needs, visit ABC Electrical Sales. They stock a wide variety of electrical supplies, including plugs, switches, panel boards, and conduits, plus energy-saving fixtures. ABC Electrical Sales stocks brands like GE, Siemens, Philips, Cutler Hammer, and Allen Bradley. They also offer free island-wide delivery just to suit your needs. Visit them at Shop 8, Hagley Park Plaza, Kingston 10, or call 876-754-3714-5 or 876-754-3825-8. ABC Electrical Sales, for a better choice in the electrical business.
Taboo topics, bulletins after dusk,
riveting discussions,
celebrity news and interviews,
topics that are shunned by society,
and everything else in between.
Boyatings After Dark with Kareem Boyatings, each and every Wednesday, 8 to 11 p.m.
Boyatings After Dark.
No topic is too taboo or hard to discuss. Come get your mind blown and your curiosity explored.
Boyatings After Dark.
Cliff Says is by far the most popular mid-morning radio segment in Jamaica. Cliff Hughes shares his views on the hot-button topics of the day, editorializing on various issues in the news, breaking news stories, and expounding on stories. Cliff Says sets the tone of the show for the rest of the day. Join the award-winning journalist Cliff Hughes weekdays during Cliff Hughes Online at 10 to 10:30 a.m. Join the revolution in media.
Cliff Says is brought to you by Educom Credit Union, providing value through service, and Hyundai, modern premium affordable vehicles.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us here nationwide at 5. I'm Cliff Hughes. And I'm Ricardo Brooks. Good afternoon, listeners. Good afternoon, Cliff. Good afternoon, Ricardo. Good afternoon, everyone. And we are here trying to come to terms with a story that is developing as we speak, and somehow we got involved as well. A firefighter, an ex-firefighter, has made his way atop the transport center in Halfway Tree. And he, according to what we're being told, Ricardo, was threatening to do harm to himself. And, of course, this triggered alarm and drew a crowd in Halfway Tree. We have some video of that right now.
youth leader go for him.
As you can see there, it appears a firefighter is trying to make his way atop the transport center to coax that gentleman down. We should say that this is not the same gentleman firefighter who had climbed atop. Maybe it was a year and a half, 2 years ago.
Yes.
Not the same gentleman.
Different gentleman.
Right. In a strange twist now, the gentleman called here wanting to speak to Cliff Hughes.
A firefighter, one of the teams there to try to get him down, called us.
Right. And so we were contacted, and you did speak to him.
Yes, the firefighter with whom I spoke said he was insisting on speaking with me, yes, because he wanted to let me know and Jamaica to know what is happening with him. So I spoke with him. I gave them my number, and they called me back, and I spoke with him.
And we have a recording of that conversation.
Yes.
Are we ready to? Yes. So here's that recording of Cliff Hughes speaking to the man, a firefighter, a former firefighter, at the top of the transport center.
Okay. Shadane?
It's crying.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. So what's happening with you? All right, that's understandable. That's okay.
But I am doing now. He came and I kind of get off track with the way I was expressing myself.
Yes.
The thing is, I want to talk to you because I don't want to talk to you in a manner like this. I am a big man and I believe you're supposed to be treated with respect. So I prefer to be in like in the studio that can share what's on my chest.
Yes.
Is that okay?
Yes, but you'll have to come down from the top of the center.
No, I said to them that once I get in contact with the media, I'll get down.
All right.
What I want to say is thank you for reaching out and to the audience. Am I live?
No, we are recording you. We're going to play it.
Okay, to Jamaica, I just want to say, sorry, what I have to do, what I have to do.
All right. So what do you want Jamaica to know?
Well, I want to talk to Jamaica directly.
Yes.
Over the airways, but I won't share what I have to say because I'm not live.
All right. So I'm going to be going on air at 5:30. That's in 7 minutes.
Okay.
Right? Are you prepared to wait until the 7 minutes and then we talk live on air about it?
I'm coming there with you. I said that I prefer to come directly to you.
Okay, so you want to come down now and then make your way.
I'm coming down now and I'm coming to you. I just want to get your confirmation, sir.
Yes. I'm at 6 Bradley Avenue, nationwide. Bradley Avenue between Cargill and Balmoral Avenue. It's less than, traffic is going on now, so it will take you about 10-15 minutes to get here. Yeah? And you come straight here and I'll have you go on air and speak with us. All right? Huh? Shadeen? So Shadeen, you are not going to do anything to hurt yourself now. Okay? Good. Okay. All right. Make your way to Bradley Avenue then. Okay, good. All right.
And just for the listeners who may not have been hearing clearly, so he says to you he has something that he wants Jamaica to hear.
Yes.
Then he says he wants to come to the studio to relay whatever that message is.
Right. Because I offered to him to tell us, and he said no. He wanted to do it on air.
And then he said to you, he gave you the assurance he will not hurt himself.
Mm-hmm.
He will come down.
Right. And make his way to Bradley Avenue.
Now, this is more than a little bizarre, because the last time this happened, this station again spoke to the person who was at top, if you recall. He called here. The last one who went on top of the transport center. Mm-hmm. And he too had a message for Jamaica. But I understand our reporter, Mahiri Stewart.
Mahiri
is in Halfway Tree.
Yes. Mahiri?
Hello.
Hi.
Good afternoon, Mr. Hughes and Ricardo and Jamaica.
Well, what's happening there now? Has he come down?
Yeah, he has come down. He was escorted by a firefighter. They had the fire truck with the ladder, and they went up there to see him. One firefighter was up there speaking with him for a bit. And then another man, I'm not sure who the man was, but he himself climbed to where the man was, went up there, and he hugged him for about, let's say, a minute or so. And then after that, he went further up the tower, the man that was the center of the issue going on. He went further up the tower. He went for a bag, and he brought the bag down. He spoke with the firefighter and the other man for a good while. And then over time, he came down on the ladder with the firefighter.
Could you see, Mahiri, whether the gentleman who was initially on top of the center, whether he had been crying? Did he look distressed in any way?
Well, I couldn't see his face while he was up there, but when he came down, he wasn't crying. He had a pretty straight face. He looked as if he was a bit startled by everything that had taken place. When he got down, a large crowd of people with their cell phones were surrounding him and cheering him. As he was coming down and as he got down, he was being cheered by a bunch of people around him with cell phones videoing the whole ordeal. And then after that, he was escorted by police away.
And did he say anything at all during that cheering?
Not that I could hear. It was very loud. So if he himself said anything, I wouldn't have been able to make it out. But there's a big commotion, commotion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And we don't know where he's been taken to. Yeah?
No.
Did they say whether they're going to take him here or not?
The police didn't say. I just know they escorted him from the premises.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you got to Halfway Tree about 20 minutes before he came down, or what?
Right. I was there for a good while, let's say 15 to 20 minutes before he came down. When I got there, he was sitting there at the top of the tower, and the firefighters were on another side of the tower, and they were talking to one another. He was pointing at them, and he was trying to get through to them. And then that's when they moved the fire truck's ladder over to the side he was on. One of the firefighters climbed to the top of it, and the two of them were speaking for a while. I saw him on the cell phone, and I'm not sure whether or not it was him talking to Sir or if he was talking to somebody else, but he was on the cell phone when I got on the scene. So I don't know if that was the recording that we just listened to.
Yes.
But after he was on the phone, another man climbed up. He wasn't a firefighter, or maybe he was, but he wasn't in any gear. He was dressed in civilian clothes. He himself climbed up to the top where the man was. The two of them hugged. Then the three people that were up there were speaking for a while. He went up. He had a bag. He went for the bag. He brought it back down. They continued speaking for a bit, and then the man came down on the ladder with the firefighter.
Okay. So the crowd has now dispersed, I take it, from the transport center.
They have. It's very loud out there. I had to find a very secluded area so I could hear you.
Thank you very much, Mahiri. You're going to make your way back to Broadcast House now.
Yes.
All right. Thank you very much. You know, this kind takes you a little bit
more than a little strange.
Yes. We report the story that we don't want to be the story.
Well, you're part of it in that way. And I should say to some of the YouTubers, you know, empathy it's something you could benefit from learning. Yeah. We're going to take the break, Dana. Yeah. And after the break, we go to the JCF. Yes?
Clearing personal, non-commercial shipments at the port? Avoid the wait. Request a contactless clearance through your agent today. It's more efficient. It's secure. The time by the Jamaica Customs Agency is
15 minutes to 6.
Corian Solid Surface, so versatile and beautiful. It's non-porous, no sealing necessary, renewable and repairable, so easy to clean and maintain, and can be thermoformed into any shape. Choose Corian, the #1 solid surface in the world, when you want beauty and the best for your countertop. Visit Home International Limited, located at 104 Constance Ring Road. Telephone 755-1970 or 924-0437.
The Jamaica Defence Force invites members of the public to its sail and fly past at Victoria Pier, downtown Kingston, on Monday, January 13, 2025 at 9 a.m. Come and witness the JDF's assets in a brilliant display of military precision in the air and on the seas. Members of the public are being advised that ceremonial explosives will be utilized during the ceremony, but these will not pose any danger to lives or property. See you there.
14 minutes going up to 6 o'clock. Thank you so much for staying with us inside the cover story. I'm Cliff Hughes.
And I'm Ricardo Brooks.
Well, Minister of National Security Dr. Horace Chang says he's confident that the Jamaica Constabulary Force will be able to reduce the number of murders recorded annually below 1,000.
Since 2000, I've been above 1,000. So we expect a target of that in 2025. It's a tough call because criminals are adjusting. But I think I'm confident with the strength of the officer corps we have in the police, the entire police force, their commitment and their skill set. And as long as we keep investing in the tools they require, which we will be doing. The technology side will almost be complete in that we'll get their C5 center, which is critical to optimizing the benefit of all the other things that tend to catch the eye of the public. We are completing some station, and of course, we will maintain the manpower. On that basis, we can feel comfortable we will achieve that.
Dr. Horace Chang, the Minister of National Security, he was speaking with us here on Friday. Now, according to the JCF's crime report, up to December 28 last year, 1,138 murders were recorded, and that's a 19% decline compared to the same period of 2023. Now, these figures are also the lowest the country has recorded since 2014.
That year, the country recorded 1,005 murders. In the broader category of serious crimes, the JCF says 4,007 offences were reported last year, a 14% drop compared to the same period in 2023. Prime Minister Holness has declared that the murder tally for 2025 will fall below 1,000. The last time the annual number fell below four figures was in 2003, when 976 people were killed in Jamaica. Joining us to discuss further is the JCF Senior Communications Strategist, Senior Superintendent Dennis Brooks. Good afternoon, Mr. Brooks.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, SSP.
Good afternoon, Mr. Hughes. Good afternoon, Mr. Brooks. And good afternoon to your listeners and viewers.
SSP Brooks, I want to start with, we haven't really heard in terms of how this is playing out internally in the JCF. And I imagine this must be a serious boost for your morale in terms of your efforts over the years of taming this crime monster.
Yeah, I would agree. The fact is that it has been a morale boost because people feel the impetus to go forward and to reduce the numbers even further. But you would imagine that persons would have had, I don't think we've had a challenge of morale before because people were motivated to get the numbers to where they are and even beyond from before that. That's how we've gotten here. So I think that we do have a well-trained and a highly motivated organization that is driven for some time now to gain significant results. Last year, at this time, we were talking about an 8% reduction, and at that time, there was a motivation to go below that 1,000 mark. And in the policing plans of every division, there were there were targets and thresholds that were focused on trying to get to a particular goal in sight. Some of the times it seems like an aspirational goal, but in the end, we ensure that our goals and objectives are smart.
Mm-hmm. If you will, SSP Brooks, point to the specific strategies, tactics that you would attribute this significant near 20% decline in murders to.
Great question, Cliff, and it's a question that you would at the start of the year or at the end of last year that we, as we do every year, we sit down when each divisional commander and when each area commander is looking at devising a policing plan for the space over which they have command, that they would identify a range of strategies. Now, if you're looking at it from an investigative investigative perspective, that there are investigative strategies that are employed. So we have said it, for instance, we are improving our capacity to arrest people, to put them before the courts, and the more people that you arrest and put before the courts and or take out of the system, take from outside of the space, you reduce their capacity to influence crime and violence in their areas. Mm-hmm. I wish we would totally negate their capacity to influence it, but the truth is that does have an impact. And so when you reduce the number of gangs by 50-odd%, it does have a real and abiding impact. When you are now going for, we have more gang cases on the horizon, that does have an impact. We have stated since the beginning of the year, for instance, that we are improving our intelligence gathering capacity. So NIB is doing an immense amount of work to provide higher hit rates that cause investigators to be able to target and apprehend persons. And so when we say we are going after high-risk targets, these high-risk targets are the ones who have the greatest ripple effect. And so you want to be able to arrest and charge them and successfully bring cases before the courts. That also has a reduction impact. The fact that the threat of being caught is a great deterrent against the commission of a crime. Mm-hmm. The threat of being caught and ultimately prosecuted. We also, you will see them, Cliff, when you're driving down Constant Spring Road, and a heavy presence from the Beat Officer Patrol Division. I think it's very important that when criminals, many crimes that are committed in Jamaica, violent crimes in particular, are crimes of opportunity. Reprisals are often crimes of opportunity. Mm-hmm. They're coming after you and they will get you where they can get you. And the more of a presence that you have, whether it's proximity or other kinds of policing, the more of a presence that you have is the more you're able to tell a potential violent offender, this is not a good space for me to operate. This is not a good time for me to operate. And so what you do is the more crimes, the more violent acts that you reduce, it has a corollary effect. And so the more you reduce is the more you reduce then.
Mm-hmm. And I imagine SSP Brooks, that would mean in terms of knowing where to deploy, as you said, an active presence deters, that you'd be getting more cooperation, more intelligence from the public at large.
Absolutely. Just like a good journalist, the more good stories you do, the more a source will come to you and say, you know what, I'm going to talk to that guy called Cliff because I trust that he's going to treat with this information best. The better the technology that you utilize, is the more effective you are in identifying a person. If you've noticed, pay keen attention to the fact that there are cases that have caught national attention, and unfortunate though it may be, in short order, that case is cleared because the persons have been identified and arrested and charged. And you've seen that over the last 5-6 years, that the time it takes between committing a crime and identifying a person of interest or a suspect has reduced. You've also seen that operationally that there has been a closing of the gap in terms of response time, which sometimes means that police officers who are well trained are going to appear in close succession to when a crime is committed, and that might mean that there's a potential violent confrontation between the police and somebody who just committed a crime. But our capacity to investigate or to intervene or to respond operationally puts us in a position where we can respond. And again, the more violent crime you reduce is the more you reduce.
Let me ask you the role of technology and intelligence. Yes?
Mm-hmm.
I noticed that the police seem better able to pick up suspects in cases. Somehow the investigations seem to move more quickly, and your clear-up rate is also heading in the right direction.
Yes, it would be. And as I was alluding to just a while ago, I'm saying that we have produced many reports over the years about what is needed to transform the Jamaica Constabulary Force. I think now more than ever before certainly in the last few years, particularly in the last 12 months, you've seen evidence of that transformation in people, quality, and technology. And these are not just words for us. So we are transforming our people and we are transforming the quality of service delivery through advancements in our technology. And so when you hear us talk about the technology projects that we are onboarding, and when you hear us talk about the impact of utilizing technology in a wide cross-section of policing initiatives, what you are seeing is the benefit of that support that we're getting in terms of the utilization of technology. So much so that we are, senior members of the JCF are being asked to speak at conferences and make appearances elsewhere to say, how are you doing these things that you are doing? How are you getting the results that you are doing there? Help us to understand how we might replicate that in our space.
How going forward now, how do you keep up the pressure on the gangs to continue to disperse them, splinter them, and erode their capacity to create mayhem?
I think we utilize all the tools in the toolbox that we have had at our disposal. We've had varying degrees of success at different points. When we break down the numbers and we look at it through a surgical lens, a data-driven lens, and a technology-driven lens, we are able, and you've seen it, how many major gang cases, it's not just Klansman, it's not just the one in Westmoreland, there are so many others that now we are targeting and we are disrupting the activities of these criminal organizations. We are utilizing the legislation that we have been given as modern tools to tackle modern crime. We're taking the proceeds of crime out of as a motivation as well, and so we're utilizing the legislative tools. We're utilizing the policing tools as well, and I think that we are seeing the results that are motivating our members to keep going. Because bear in mind, a lot of our murders, for instance, are reprisals. And so if you have 265 less murders in a year, you have at minimum, possibly more, but at minimum 265 fewer reprisals to go and investigate the following year. It is difficult, yes, to better a great year, but it is possible. And it is, when you hear divisional and area commanders in areas that were traditionally tough. Think about just the other day when we were talking about Western Jamaica as being the source of the majority.
St. James in particular.
St. James, Hanover, and Westmoreland. And now you're looking at those all across Area 1, we're seeing reductions. When you're looking at traditional challenging areas in the corporate area, in the communities that dancehall artists would sing about as Badman Place. When you're looking at across Area 4, successive years of reductions, it is a great deal of work of investigators, of intel officers, of operational persons, of persons in communication.
Thank you, Senior Superintendent Dennis Brooks, Senior Communication Strategist at the JCF. We're out of time, but keep up the good work.
Definitely.
Yeah, keep it up.
Indeed.
Yes.
Pass it on to
Next time this year, we should be reporting another 20-25% reduction.
That's the aim.
Good. Take care of yourself.
Dennis.
Good. The headlines at 6 are next.
The time brought to you by Guardian Life. Live secure, live easy is
6 o'clock.
Nationwide headlines at 6.
Good evening. With the headlines at 6, I'm Nora Gay Banton. The Supreme Court will begin to digitally record court proceedings in the criminal courts come April. Chief Justice Brian Sykes made the announcement at the swearing-in ceremony of judges at King's House, St. Andrew, on Monday.
We are now in a position to say that we'll begin digital recording of court proceedings on the criminal courts in the Easter term, that is April. The posts have been created, the rules are in place. That is the work of the committee led by Honorable Mr. Justice Leighton Pusey. A lot of work went in there over the last couple of years, and so we are now there.
The move comes in a bid to improve the efficiency of information management in the justice system. Justice Sykes says the training will include all the relevant court members.
Training is to be received through collaboration with one of our international partners, and that will include everybody. Judges, digital clerks, the transcriptionists, defense counsel, everyone, because it is going to necessitate changing practices and the way the courts operate and the rhythm and flow of work in the courts. So the practice of witnesses coming out, and when the witnesses are transitioning, counsel pops up, "Oh, Judge, may I mention the matter of so and so and so?" It will only take 5 or 10 minutes and it becomes 20 minutes. That will now have to come to an end, because to get the best out of digital recording, we need to have the continuous recording of the evidence.
Brian Sykes, Chief Justice. Executive Director of Jamaicans for Justice, JFJ, Michael Jackson, says the JCF needs to do more to build a partnership between citizens and police as it works to further reduce the crime rate. She made the point as she commended the JCF for the 19% reduction in murders recorded in 2024.
I think there is room for more improvement, and I'm going to focus, for example, on citizen-police relations. You talk about the clear-up rate. It is also dependent on number of people coming forward, saying to the police that I witnessed this particular crime in my area. I think these are the persons that you're looking for, and I trust you enough to give you that information. So I think more improvement is needed on that front going forward.
Ms. Jackson says the police need to do more at the community level to combat interpersonal conflicts that lead to murders.
We focus heavily on the number of gangs being dismantled in the country because some 70% of the murders are attributed to them. But I think more needs to be done with the domestic area. So, for example, 30% of the crime, they say, happens in the domestic setting. You see a number of situations that are quite alarming where family members are contracting murderers to kill another family member over land and that sort of a thing. How do you tackle some of those elements within the community settings so that you can also deal with that 30% that is attributed to domestic disputes?
Michael Jackson, Executive Director of Jamaicans for Justice, JFJ. Economist Keenan Faulkner is confident the economy will recover quickly following the recent contraction. He's reacting to news that the economy declined by 3.5% for the July to September quarter of 2024. Mr. Faulkner says the government must do more in terms of capital development to stimulate economic activity. The economy contracted by 3.5% for the third quarter of 2024, mostly driven by the impact of Hurricane Beryl. However, even before the passage of the storm, the economy showed signs of slowing. Economist Keenan Faulkner says while slightly higher than expected, the contraction is not a surprise.
Yeah, so I think that just followed the general trend of deceleration in the economy. I think that Beryl merely compounded what had already been a loss of steam in the post-pandemic period. And although the 3.5% was larger than initially anticipated, it does not really give the government much room for maneuver in terms of the fact that that deceleration in growth has been translated to tax revenue, where overperformance had started itself to decelerate until now, as we have seen at the end of November, there was underperformance of around $7 billion in total revenues and grants.
He is urging the government to focus on capital projects for its upcoming budget in March. Mr. Faulkner says this will help stimulate economic activity in tandem with the recent monetary decisions taken by the Bank of Jamaica.
Going into the budget period, then there might be some amount of constraint in terms of the ability to spend. In order to sort of kickstart the Jamaican economy again, the government will have to put more money into its capital budget to be able to spend on items that are necessarily growth inducing, and that includes mostly infrastructure development as well as other items of capital expenditure. But I think also that the loosening of the monetary environment will help in terms of augmenting government revenues, because business activity can start to pick up more steam.
Keenan Faulkner, Economist. Those were the headlines at 6. I'm Nora Gay Banton. Sports is next.
As we grow older, there are many challenges that we have to confront, but these years can represent the best in our lives. Coming of Age during Nationwide This Morning on Thursdays explores issues persons 50 and over confront. It also provides expert opinions on how we can improve the quality of our lives as we get older. That's Coming of Age, this and every Thursday during Nationwide This Morning at 6:51 a.m.
Do you have a consumer-related issue? Want to learn more about matters concerning you as a consumer? Well, keep it locked to Nationwide 90 FM for the Consumer Hour with me, Nora Gay Banton. Weekdays from 9 to 10 a.m. For all your consumer-centric matters, stay tuned to the Consumer Hour on Nationwide 90 FM, a revolution in media.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to Sports here on Nationwide 90 FM. I'm Wayne Walker. Former champions Portmore United, well, they continue to lead Tivoli Gardens 1-0. They are now half-time in their Ray and Nephew Jamaica Premier League game at the Tony Spalding Sports Complex. It's the opening game of a doubleheader, which will feature the defending champions Cavalier against Waterhouse, and that game is set to kick off at 7:45. Jamaica's national under-17 football team defeated Selección Bajío 3-2 in the opening game of the Tornado del Sol in Mexico today. Seymour Reed scored a double for the Jamaicans, while Cadrian Marsh bagged the other. The young Reggae Boys will be back in action as they face Selección Norte on Tuesday morning at 10:30 Jamaica time. The tournament has been used in preparation for the CONCACAF Under-17 qualifiers slated to kick off in February. The West Indies team arrived in Pakistan a couple of hours ago to fine-tune preparation for a two-match test series. The team touched down in Islamabad on Monday from Dubai for their first test series in Pakistan in 18 years. The Caribbean team will kick off their preparation with a 3-day practice game against the Pakistan Shaheens, and that game is set to bowl off on Friday. Before the 3-day warm-up game, the West Indies will engage in 2 days of intensive training on Wednesday and Thursday. The West Indies and Pakistan last played in a test series in Pakistan in 2006, though the West Indies visited for limited overs matches on 3 occasions since 2018. Pakistan lead the head-to-head. They've got 21 wins from the 54 games played between the teams. West Indies 18 wins. 15 games ended in drawn results. The last test between the two teams took place in 2021, right here in the Caribbean, which concluded in a 1-1 draw. The first test of the series will start on January 17, and the second 8 days later, both test matches to be played in Multan. South Africa finally broke Pakistan's resistance on the 4th day of the second test to complete a 2-0 series win and to finish top of the World Test Championship table. Following on 421 runs behind, the tourists showed much more resolve in their second innings to reach parity and to set the Proteas a small target of 58 in the final session of the day. South Africa made light work of the target. Former Durham batter David Bedingham promoted up the order from number 5. He smashed 44 from 30 balls. Victory in Cape Town was built on a huge first innings total of 615 all-out. Opener Ryan Rickleton top scored with a 259. They enforced a follow-on after bowling at Pakistan for 194, but Shan Masood's 145 added some respectability. Babar Azam scored 81 in the first wicket stand of 205, but Khawaja Rabada 3 for 115 and Kashev Maharaj at 3 for 137 chipped away despite further resistance from Mohammad Rizwan 41, Salman Al-Aghair 48 and Amir Jamal 34 in the lower order. South Africa's victory ensured they head into June's World Test Championship final against Australia, having topped the table for the 2-year cycle. The England and Wales Cricket Board ECB has called for a unified response to action against Afghanistan amid calls for the England men's team to boycott next month's Champions Trophy match between the teams. England are due to face Afghanistan in Lahore on February 26, but the UK politicians want the team to refuse to play the 50-over match and to take a stand against the Taliban's regime's assault on women's rights. A letter to the ECB written by Labour MP Tonia Antoniazai and signed by the likes of Reform UK leader Nigel Farage and former Labour leaders Jeremy Corbyn and Lord Kinnock urged England to boycott the match to send a clear signal that such grotesque abuse will not be tolerated. Women's participation in sport has effectively been outlawed since the Taliban's return to power in 2021, and many of Afghanistan's female players left the country for their own safety. International Cricket Council regulations state full membership is conditional upon having women's cricket teams and pathway structures in place. However, Afghanistan's men's team has been allowed to participate in ICC tournaments seemingly without any sanctions. In response to the letter signed by a group of more than 160 politicians calling for a boycott, the ECB chief executive Richard Gould said the governing body is, quote, committed to finding a solution which upholds the rights of women and girls in Afghanistan. Chairman of the Jamaica College Board, Lance Hilton, says that the Dark Blues are focused on dethroning Kingston College as champions of the Issa Grace Kennedy Boys and Girls Championship title. The prestigious high school track and field championship is set for the National Stadium March 25 to 29. Now, the famed purpose is celebrating their 100th anniversary and they have hopes of securing a 36th lean on the championship trophy, but Hilton is encouraging KC to be satisfied with winning the 2024 Manning Cup and Olivia Shield football titles.
We're coming this year, so one of my forces friends just say, I know it's a century, but I mean, I know you're satisfied with the Manning Cup. And careers up now. We will honor you and so Manning and Olivia, and so I know you're good with that because don't look to the champ.
That's Lance Hilton, and he was speaking live on Sports Nation Live this past weekend at the JC Pure Water or Danny Williams track and field meet up at JC. And the Jamaica Basketball Association is in early discussion to host some of the top under 17 players from the USA and complete a tournament called The Grind. The Grind session usually involves some of the top U.S. high school basketball academies. This is usually held in the USA, but in recent times it was also held in Canada. President of the Jamaica Basketball Association, Paulton Gordon, says they're seeking to do it in Jamaica because the number one ESPN-ranked high school player, AJ DeBanstania, has Jamaican heritage.
It is primarily contested between the high school academies. This was born out of the fact that AJ, his mom is Jamaican and his dad is from Congo. They actually came to Jamaica sometime early last year, met with the minister. And because he's part of the grind session, they are looking at bringing that event to Jamaica sometime in March. So we had some discussions with some of the principals who came to Jamaica. And essentially what we did some preliminary work. We took them to the National Indoor Center. They have been speaking to the IPL management about the nights that they want to look at. We also had discussions with tourism interests, the Minister of Sports.
Gordon says there'll be a heavy local component to the tournament.
The discussion I'm having with the organizers is for us to have another section where we can expose some of our under 17 and under 15 youngsters to some other overseas-based players who might be coming down. But we certainly want to have a Jamaican component to this event. In addition to that, the very first day will be lots of clinics. The coaches and the schools will be coming in. The overseas coaches will be assisting with the fundamentals of the game and helping to upskill some of the youngsters who might be on location.
That's Paulton Gordon, president of the Jamaica Basketball Association. Jamaica's national swimming coach Gillian Millwood and Delan Brown of the Cayman of the Bahamas both agree that finance is the biggest hurdle preventing Caribbean swimmers making the transition from junior to the senior level frequently. Millwood, who is also head coach of Y Speeders, says Jamaica would have lost several promising junior swimmers due to the lack of funding.
It boils down to a money thing, you know. We had an amazing talent in Justin Flashka, for example. And when we asked him, you know, boy, you're moving on to the Olympic level, the man say, hey, I have to go work, you know. Honestly, because that's taking money. I need to go and find it, asking for sponsorship. You know, it's not all there. You know, you're not sure what you can get and how you can sustain it. So it's a part of life, it's a fact of life, because once you get out of college, the college conferences end February. If you go to nationals, that's March. By the time you get there, if your school doesn't have an associated club program, the cost to get in and to continue that, maybe you'll be continuing that by yourself. And you still have finals to deal with. There's still all of that scholastic, you know, endeavors to deal with.
Gillian Millwood Brown, the coach of Blue Waves in the Bahamas, says the region needs a swimming Grand Prix for the Caribbean swimmers to earn at the senior level.
For track and field, there is that niche, or someone provided the niche for them to have like a Grand Prix. And if we were to create that in the Caribbean, even if it's one country that is providing the venue, and we have corporate support in the package, or we have a Speed or a Tier or a Dolphin or one of those companies sponsoring the packages, and if that is something that is on the calendar every year, I think that will enhance our senior program beyond 17.
That's swimming coach Delan Brown. That's sports.
For all your scales and food processing equipment, call Advanced Scales and Equipment Limited at 876-968-9612-5. The time by Advanced Scales and Equipment Limited, Customer Appreciation Week, December 16 to 20 is
6:18.
Visit Marshall's Pharmacy, Greater Portmore, for all your prescription needs, gifts, personal care, household, and stationery items. The temperature by Marshall's Pharmacy, Greater Portmore is
30 degrees Celsius here in the nation's capital, Kingston. It's 26 in the western city, Montego Bay.
Charles O'Connor Consulting Network, COCN, is a financial reporting firm that delivers accounting and compliance services on time. Call us today at 876-908-0486 to 7. Email us at clientservices@cocnjamaica.com or visit our website at www.cocnjamaica.com. COCN, driven by international accounting standards, modern technology, and integrity.
The Jamaica Defence Force invites members of the public to its sail and fly past at Victoria Pier, downtown Kingston, on Monday, January 13, 2025 at 9 a.m. Come and witness the JDF's assets in a brilliant display of military precision in the air and on the seas. Members of the public are being advised that ceremonial explosives will be utilized during the ceremony, but these will not pose any danger to lives or property. See you there.
Z Jamaica Robotics Conference, Tuesday, January 7, 2025, 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. at the Jamaica Pegasus Ballroom, celebrating the achievements of over 100 students and teachers who have achieved certification. Special guest speaker, Dr. Denzel Williams. Presentation by Zebra Robotics Canada. Sponsors, Lasco, Mothers, and Optimity. Tickets available for purchase at ztechnologies.aitix.com or contact 876-880-3301 or 876-499-3157. And tune in to Cliff Hughes Online from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. as we broadcast live from the Z Robotics Conference, Tuesday, January 7, 2025, at the Jamaica Pegasus Ballroom. All this and more only on Nationwide 90 FM, the new revolution in media. This broadcast is brought to you by Z Technologies.
It's Monday. Get over your blues. Or Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. The E-Zone is here for you. With the Stinger Honey Bee
and Karim Boyatings
from 3 to 5 p.m. on Nationwide 90 FM.
We've got your entertainment news.
Then we want to hear your views. What you said.
Jump in the mix.
Or the hot seat.
Don't miss our brain busters.
Or the crazy giveaways.
Let's talk fashion.
Send us your outfit of the day. Ooh, cutesy. Very demure.
Are you looking for love?
Come on one of our blind dates. Send your request to ezone blinddates@gmail.com. That's ezonblinddates@gmail.com.
And stay tuned for your confessions.
These are my confessions. Share them with us at ezoneconfessions@yahoo.com. I mean, is this planet Earth?
Is it?
I don't know. Let me check. Either way, it's got a buzz.
And a bugger thing.
Ow! Ow!
Informative, educational, insightful. Let's talk justice. Tackling topics like constitutional rights and reform, domestic violence, and rights issues that affect you. Let's talk justice every Monday from 1 to 2 p.m. on Nationwide 90 FM. Call in, share your thoughts, be empowered, know your rights, and let's talk justice, ensuring access to justice for all, courtesy of Jamaicans for Justice.
I'm Dennis Brooks.
I'm Marlon Campbell.
I'm Floyd Green.
And I'm Garth Williams. Catch us on the Jamaican Dads podcast right here on Nationwide 90 FM, Thursdays at 8 p.m. with a repeat on Sundays at 6 p.m.
The Jamaican Dads podcast is all about providing men with a healthy, safe, and functional forum to tackle many of the taboo topics that concern our masculinity.
Like everyone else out there, we're dads of varying amounts of experience who come from different backgrounds and often view the world differently.
We're definitely not perfect, but we're all brethren and we're all committed to this piece of rock called Jamaica.
Too often, there are no safe spaces for men to explore the issues which are important to us.
Plus, most of the content out there about parenthood is produced by women, for women. So we think it is important that we be the change we want to see.
Follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Jamaican Dads with a Z.
And definitely join us here on Nationwide 90 FM every Thursday at 8 p.m. with a repeat on Sundays at 6 p.m. for the Jamaican Dads podcast. It's a revolution in media.
Public Opinion is brought to you by Cleasing Industrial Supplies Limited, Industrial Automation and Control Solutions.
Good evening, and welcome to Public Opinion. I'm Roby Ann Williams. Happy Monday to you. Yeah, welcome to another week of Public Opinion. A special good evening to our friends on our YouTube platform. Thank you so much for tuning in. We invite you to weigh in live in the comment section on today's Public Opinion, of course. So we're diving into an issue that has been affecting us all, the state of our roads. We want to hear from you. So the question we're asking, What's the worst road in your constituency? Is it filled with potholes, prone to flooding, or just downright dangerous breakaways? Let's shine some spotlight on the roads in your constituency that need attention. What's the worst road in your constituency? That's the question on our Facebook platform. Barry Black said every road bad except the highways. Philip Jackson says the Mavis Bank Road leading from Gordontown to Hall's Delight need attention bad, but based on the geographical location and the mountain and the valleys, plus the soil type, it's a tough area to have lasting roads. And I recall seeing some videos of that area, you know, the breakaway and all of that. Shins for Life says Mannings Hill Road going up to Smoky Vale and Stony Hill Road is a downright disgrace. Yeah? To front end and tires. Can you imagine the people in welfare by parts? Sean Major Campbell is saying, what's the worst constituency in the country in terms of roads? That's that. You're asking that? Sean Major Campbell. All right. Beverly Barrett saying Sherwood content in Trelawney. For Mar Turner, it's Stettin Main Road. Yeah. Robert Ranger says, honestly, these roads are average. On our Instagram platform, Jones So Fabulous is saying Windward Road, all of Windward Road need attention. That's what Jones So Fabulous is saying. Also saying that Upper Ellison Road in East Kingston also needs attention. Philip King says Sherlock Crescent. Yeah, I believe that's in Duhaney Park there. Sherlock Crescent in Duhaney Park. Jamaican Snapshot saying Cornhill to Hopewell via Success, Hanover, Eastern. But she's glad it's on the Spark program. Indeed. Chrissy saying Dallas Castle Main Road. And Godfrey Walker's Hill in West Rural St. Andrew. And he's saying for decades it has been one of the worst roads in the constituency. Yeah? I Am Muri says all the road in the constituency want fix. So too, say Coconut Water, say all of them. HM Queen is saying St. John's Road, specifically Red Pond area. She's saying it's atrocious. All roads in Green Acres, St. John's and Meadows, all of those roads, she's saying, need attention. Guys Hill to Linstead coming from Shay. Shay is saying that Guys Hill to Linstead need attention. On our X platform, Shanae is saying all the roads in Southwest Clarendon are horrible. And she's saying shout out to MP Lothan Cousins. All right. Mark David says Moreton Park Avenue and Cassia Park Avenue. Yeah. Moreton Park Avenue and Cassia Park Avenue in East Central St. Andrew. Those are some of the worst roads in the constituency. Grange is saying nothing like Fitzjackson constituency. Him say, do this and beat me. And I can definitely say this one, low profiler. Okay, low profiler say all the road them in a Portmore. And I can agree. Like, I don't know what pothole do over Portmore. Like, all I road them want fix. Every road you turn on in Portmore, oh boy, it is terrible. It is terrible over there in Portmore. And I can speak from experience. If you're just joining us, we're inside the court of public opinion. The question we're putting to you, what's the worst road in your constituency? Trisha Campbell says South Trelawney from Troy to Christiana. McHugh is saying majority of the roads. Let me see if I can get in a few more. Isa Mario is saying the scheme roads, Longville Park, housing scheme roads, drains and gullies. Yeah? Angel Jones saying Gordon Terrace, New Haven. She say a pure swimming pool at every gate. Can you imagine? Odari Duaney is saying all the road them in a Westmoreland. All the road them in a Westmoreland want fix. CJ Martinez saying a lot of bad roads in Tova Hamilton constituency. Bad. Yeah? He's saying I will be surprised if she get a second term. Wow. with those bad roads in North Trelawney. All right. Wow. Glenn is saying that the road leading up to Smoky Vale is bad. Ranza, Smithville, Clarendon, and Halls Hall in Clarendon. I never see anything like those. Yeah, man, I travel by Halls Hall. And it's terrible. Yeah. Bogues is saying Portmore is bad. And a PNP run that. Okay. Jacqueline Thomas says Portmore always have holes. Cindy Lynch says Portmore will always have pothole because it dump up water below the roads. All right. But especially our 20 route. I don't know if you know Portmore. You see 20 route, you have to do some dilly and dally. As motorists and you drive, you have to do some dilly and dally. You just have to go over in the next lane and then come over. It's crazy driving. To maneuver the roads, it is crazy driving. You have to be, all of your senses them have to connect. In order to maneuver the road, all of the senses them have to connect. It's unfortunate. It's rather unfortunate. And you have to keep a mental note of the potholes. And sometimes you're not really remembering and you're dropping out bluff. And you're tired at gone. Jacqueline Thomas says all the roads are going to be fixed soon. Well, we hope and pray, Jacqueline Thomas. We hope and pray. And you know, another issue that I have, another concern. Sharon, bless me now, disclose. I'm just saying the entire Portmore. I don't live on 20 road. Okay. So, whenever the roads them patch, them coming like Ilangoli. You know, you catch all seasickness. You feel seasick when you drive by the road them. And I'm not laughing. It's really a terrible thing. You know, when the roads patch, right? So for instance, the roads patch. It's still Ilangoli. I don't know if there's a way to level off the roadways. It come like you drive over sleeping police, like Boog say. It's just up and down, up and down. So I don't know if maybe there's a way to fix that. Let me see. Bogue says the major need to get out and go fix them. Let me see if I can get in a few more. Whodunit says the Spark program is a historic project, and for the first, at least 75% of the community roads will be repaired. And I continue to say when I see it, you know, I see on social media some roads are being fixed. Yes, not gonna be ungrateful, but some roads are being fixed. Yes, we see. But not until, you know, I don't really see why I keep over Portmore still. I really see why I keep over Portmore. Marie is saying all the road will be fixed. And we hope and pray. David Nabar says New Haven is a swamp. Yeah. Sun is saying maneuvering the roads is like problem solving, and the way how some people navigate potholes, I have to shake my head more time. Like as me said, people are dilly-dally and have to cross over in a lane and go over in the lane. It is dangerous because at times people can be over one part, run one part, and coming into a vehicle. It's just dangerous. It's dangerous driving. In order to maneuver the road, you have to go through some things. Bali is questioning, do you think every road will be fixed this year? Well, we can only hope and pray. I'm not saying every road will be fixed. There are contracts that are there. You have the Spark program, you have REACH, and we're hoping to see the results of these programs. I've seen videos, I've seen pictures on social media, but we just want the road them fix. Yeah? We just want the road them fix. And if the road them are patch, we want them level. Like, I don't know if there's a way to level off the road when it's being patched. But I'm not telling a lie. Sometimes you catch seasickness when you drive past some of the road, and because the up and down and you just feel nauseous when you don't drive. But guys, thank you so much for participating in public opinion. Mikhail Johnson is saying, talk about Portmore some more. I'm tired. Yeah. Bali saying it's impossible to fix all the roads. It's impossible. All right. Kimani is saying, look how much rainfall last year. And we're not disputing any of that. We're not disputing any of that. Diaz is asking, why when them patch the road, them throw the unused material on the sidewalk? Well, I don't know. Maybe in your area that is happening. Let me see. Kimani is asking if roads could be fixed during the rainy season. We're not disputing the fact that we just come out through a whole heap of rain. We're not saying that. You know, all we're saying is that the roads are terrible, and he or she who have eyes can see and feel. That's all we're saying. Bogue says roads were always bad a long time. Glenn is saying that is bad workmanship. Why the road up and down when they patched? Yeah. Verly Green says this is not magic. Guys, thank you so much for participating in Public Opinion. We hope to see the results, whether it be Spark, whether it be Reach, or whatever project, road work project, we want to see the results. Thank you guys so much for participating in Public Opinion. This evening, we have the business report up next.
Public Opinion was brought to you by Cleasing Industrial Supplies Limited, industrial automation and control solutions.
Drive the most exciting new vehicles in Jamaica. Schedule your 2024 Ford Ranger pickup or Ford Everest 7-seater SUV test drive now. Call or visit KIG today.
The time by KIG is
6:35.
Annual eye examinations not only assess your vision but may be life-saving. Eye tests may detect serious health issues that go beyond your vision. Call IQ Optical to schedule your comprehensive eye test today.
The temperature by IQ Optical is
30 degrees Celsius in Kingston, 26 Southwest in Montego Bay. Hello, good evening, and welcome to Nationwide's Business Report. I'm Robianne Williams. The NCB Financial Group Limited, NCBFG, has announced changes to the composition of its board and that of its subsidiary National Commercial Bank Limited to further strengthen its governance framework. In a statement on the Jamaica Stock Exchange website, the group says Arvinda Bharat was appointed to the board of directors on January 2, 2025. She brings over 30 years of combined experience across the different geographies in the banking, regulatory and technology industries. NCBFG, with the addition of Mrs. Bharat, the board complement now stands at 8, with the majority of directors deemed independent, non-executive directors. Further afield, the top banking regulator at the U.S. Central Bank has said he will step down from his role early, citing the risk of a dispute as Washington prepares for a new administration. Michael Barr, who had called for stricter oversight after a series of bank failures in 2023, has been a target of Republicans but had previously rejected suggestions he resign before his term ends in 2026. Mr. Barr said he would remain on the board of the Federal Reserve, but in a reduced role. And finally, in the currency markets at the close of trading today, it cost 156 Jamaican dollars and 91 cents to buy $1 US, 195 Jamaican dollars and 64 cents to buy £1 British pound, and 109 Jamaican dollars and 17 cents to buy the Canadian dollar. That's the business report. I'm Robianne Williams. Good evening.
Since 1995, we've been your go-to source for everything related to billiards, amusement machines, and electronics. With locations at 1A Lindsay Terrace, Kingston 10, and the Village Plaza, Big Bridge, Savannah Lamar, we offer top-quality pool table parts and accessories, cutting-edge gaming machines, and more. We also specialize in assembly, sales, and service of amusement machines. We provide unmatched customer service, expert solutions, and products tailored to your needs. Who are we? We are Eclipse Enterprise. Telephone 876-960-3891.
The management and the staff of the Jamaica Customs Agency extend the very best wishes to you and your family for a safe, peaceful, and enjoyable holiday. Whether you're effecting clearance at the port, traveling to and from the airport, or undertaking other transactions, we urge you to travel safely, use good judgment, and stay within the speed limit. We thank you for your support throughout 2024 and look forward to a healthy, prosperous, and productive new year. Happy New Year from Jamaica Customs.
You can have it all. Company events, birthday parties, or the wedding of your dreams. It's all possible at Grand Palladium Hotels and Resorts. We have magnificent event rooms and a dedicated team that will make your event the best experience that only Grand Palladium Hotels and Resorts can offer. Contact us at 876-619-0000 or call your favorite travel agency and ask about our promotion designed especially for you.
If it's in the public's interest, it's the nation's business during Nationwide at 5. The nation's business.
Are you ready for it?
Revo. Coming soon.
Hi there. Here's some good news for these trying times. Quote, "By God's word, I can see where I'm going. They throw a beam of light on my dark path." Unquote. Psalm 119, verse 105. Listen for God's Word weekdays at 5:45 a.m. and 12:55 p.m. through
Oasis. Stop by for a refreshing drink and share a God perspective for the day.
Oasis. Weekdays 5:45 a.m. and 12:55 p.m. right here on Nationwide, a revolution in media.
The rebroadcast of the Oasis can be heard weekdays at 5:45 a.m.
Tune in to Nationwide 90 FM, the new revolution in media. Stay ahead of the curve with our cutting-edge reporting and accurate breaking news coverage.
We're having an earthquake. Oh, God.
Hear it here first on Nationwide 90 FM. Tune in, turn up the volume, and listen. We bring a mix of news, entertainment, and sports to your lives.
Nationwide 90 FM's live and continuous coverage of the World Championships in Budapest, Hungary.
News and discussions week mornings.
Coming up in the news at 6 for this morning.
Entertainment in the afternoons, then news again in the evenings.
Nationwide news at this hour, fired.
Also, tune into the entertainment and sports shows in the nights and on the weekends.
It is Boy Things After Dark right here on Nationwide 90 FM.
Everything is news, from current affairs and entertainment to sports, business, and other categories.
Nationwide 90 FM. This is Beaniman. Give it to them. Zaga, Zen.
From every whisper to every commotion.
That's rubbish. The KSAMC cannot investigate itself.
Every news story unfolds here first at Nationwide 90 FM, the new revolution in media. Every sound is a story, and every story we share is news.
Good evening. It's 18 minutes going up to 7 o'clock. I'm Cliff Hughes.
And I'm Ricardo Brooks, and we're turning our attention to the start of the new school term, got underway today. And as it begins, the Jamaica Teachers Association, the JTA, is restating its calls for fair compensation for teachers and improved classroom conditions for students. Dr. Mark Smith is the president of the association.
As we honor the past, we must also forge our path towards a better future, one where educators and education is greatly valued beyond lip service, a future in which those engaged in the process of developing the human capital of this great nation are compensated fairly and work in environments that are conducive to learning. We also need to implement the Patterson Report with great urgency. The teachers are mobilized and prepared to continue to do what is necessary, but we need the support from every sector.
Dr. Mark Smith there, the president of the Jamaica Teachers Association. He says tools such as artificial intelligence should be used to transform classrooms. Dr. Smith also says consultations with educators across the island are underway on the changes needed to improve their working conditions. He joins us now. Good evening, Dr. Smith.
Gentlemen,
Good evening.
Happy New Year to you all.
Good. We're also being joined by the president of the National Parent Teachers Association of Jamaica, Stuart Jacobs. Good evening.
Good evening, Cliff, and good evening, Dr.
Smith.
How are you? Happy New Year.
All right. So let me begin with you, Dr. Smith. The issues of fair compensation. That's an interesting way of putting it. Fair compensation. Define that for us, please.
Compensation that is aligned with our living standards and the contribution to the work that we do in nation building. I think there are very few people that will disagree that teachers are the bedrock of building a strong and progressive nation. And when we look around the world at countries that have greatly invested in education, and as I always tell people, you can disaggregate that with an investment in your teachers and building the type of resilience within that core of individuals, so we don't have a revolving door model of education where people come and spend 2 years, 3 years, and then leave, but we're able to build a strong cadre of educators that can really help to move this country towards developing the knowledge-based economy that we often espouse.
Yeah, but how do we pin this down? How do we measure? Yeah, when a teacher is being fairly or unfairly compensated? What are the tools we use to measure? Because I'm around for too long. I've heard this conversation over and over for many, many years. But when you get down to the nitty-gritty, how do we measure? How do we measure that performance that is supposed to be fair, good, and compensated accordingly? That's where it falls apart.
I don't think necessarily falls apart there because we have, for instance, put requests on the table time and time again, and it is often shot down that the country at this time cannot afford to. But then as a result of that, you tend to have a scenario playing out in which a lot of the individuals start to leave the country, and that creates a certain type of brain drain. Now, I'm sure you will say that we have a general issue with brain drain in the country. But if you're going to look at the base at which you're going to build your human capital, then we have to start to pivot towards that. There are some that will say, if you take the opportunity to look at our expenditure, I think it was 5.7% of GDP, that is as much as we can spend on education. But the truth is, I think we have to find some creative ways to expand the spending because the GDP for the country is very low. So when you compare that to sometimes some other countries, and they may even have lower GDPs, the reality is when you look at the dollar value or the spend per capita on students and on the teachers, it is far lower. We are paid far lower than any other teacher in the Caribbean, or with the exception of Haiti. So we have to say we pay some of the most depressed salaries, and as a result of that, you find that there are a lot of educators that just don't stay in the classroom after a period of time. The other challenge you're going to find is that people are demotivated. So that's another issue, and you know that you're going to build a successful company. You have to ensure that your employees are highly motivated. And it often starts, not the only thing, but a big part of that is ensuring that they have competitive salaries. And unfortunately, we're struggling with that. Mm-hmm. And my opinion is a rational way to tackle that challenge.
Dr. Smith, parents listening may say, okay, we agree. Teachers should be paid more. But we want, if we're going to pay them more or pay them at the level you would like, so that, what's the term that you use?
Fair.
That it's fair. Then we should also start to expect that the performance of the students should be used as a metric to decide what is fair compensation. Would the JTA accept that?
Depending on how that look, what does that manifest in? Because we have to understand that all children don't have the same starting points. And so, any model, and I personally am not against, incentive-based payments in some cases. And so what you will have is, where it is that you have persons going above and beyond the call of duty, then if you want to pay some type of incentive to promote excellence in education or something, I'm not for a minute saying we can't have that. But let's first of all start with a fair salary as a base. Even the last salary realignment that was done, or rationalization that was done by the Ministry of Finance, we saw was that nurses and teachers, for instance, were very close. And we have seen, and I'm really happy for my colleagues in the nurses fraternity, but we have seen where the chasm between them has really widened. And those are the things that oftentimes help to feed into this notion that teachers aren't appreciated.
And Dr. Smith, you used a term a while ago that struck me. Yeah, not all students start at the same place. That principle can also be applied to teachers. Not all teachers start at the same place. There are some great teachers who should be paid 3 times what the other teacher next door is earning. Mm-hmm. But you will never, as a Jamaica Teachers Association, accede to that kind of departure point, would you?
I would not say that, because presently we have discussion, and that is part of why I'm doing this consultation. I'm really hearing from the membership. Traditionally, we have not necessarily embraced the concept of incentive-based program, but that is something that I'm putting on the table within my presidency for us to discuss. In private sector, in various private sector organizations, you do use incentive programs, and I believe that needs to be looked at. But I also equally believe that we have to look at creative ways of compensating teachers that do go above and beyond the call of duty. And in schools that need some of these teachers, we have amazing teachers. I've served as a school inspector in a previous life, and I'll tell you this, that I've traveled to every single parish, and if you've done trips around the country, you meet some remarkable teachers doing amazing things with very little. When you go into the schools and you see I remember one particular school, I walked for over 2 miles. My car physically could not traverse on the road any further. And when you got there, the teachers were on time. They were doing what they were supposed to do. The outcome from the learning points. But those children came with significant learning deficits. And so we have to come up with a model that would then not penalize teachers who work in schools, often where those children don't get the support. Where, data will tell us that children, generally speaking, who come from lower income households, that oftentimes.
But this is where leadership of the Jamaica Teachers Association is going to be absolutely critical. Yes, because this is a difficult issue. Because those teachers, and we know them, we know the good ones. You walk into a school as you did, and you know the teachers who are just brilliant, who go beyond the call of duty. But how do we compensate them when we are fixed to what I call the herd mentality of your association's negotiating practice over the years? You lump everybody. It's easier. And what we do, we reward those who really ought not to be anywhere near a classroom.
But, I love the way in which you have phrased it, because if it is that we have individuals that we have identified, boards are given the tools, the administrators of the schools, in order to, pretty much exclude those individuals from the process. Once it's done fairly, and a lot of people oftentimes like to say that the union were about supporting bad behavior with teachers. That's just not true. What we ensure are the rights of individuals. And in the same way, we have individuals who have, for whatever reason, have broken the law. We expect that you follow through with the processes that are involved in that to ensure that you do not breach it, and in the process, in any way violating those rights the individual has. And that is what we have been as Guardian, and we are unapologetic in fighting for those rights. With that being said, this whole concept of focusing on the few teachers we have in the system who are not doing what they're supposed to do, I think does not pay credit and homage to the broader base of teachers, the vast majority that I've had the pleasure of working with and leading, that I see them doing their best, going above and beyond the call of duty. I can tell you, Cliff, that there are many teachers who, in fact, I was at a recent consultation, teacher came up to do the report cards for the students. She had to buy the paper. And those are the things I'm talking about. Classrooms, I visited some schools down in South St. Elizabeth and some in St. Mary. And when you look at the ceiling falling down on the teachers, we talk about desks and chairs, no chalkboard. Some of them have to buy their own markers to use on the whiteboards. And so when we talk about this, they ask for children to have the books and the necessary resources. Those are not given. Winston Churchill once said, give us the tools and we'll get the job done. But oftentimes teachers are not given the tools. Yeah. And that is part of the challenge that we're facing.
I'd like to hear Stuart Jacobs on that point of fair compensation. Where do the parents stand on whether teachers, Stuart Jacobs, should be paid according to the output as measured in the performance of their students?
Let me begin first by saying that teachers are, let me say, good teachers. Competent teachers are the most important aspect of the learning process for our Jamaican children. We need teachers. We need good teachers. And I do agree that we have some very good teachers, and we have some teachers who are very marginal in carrying out their duties.
We have some very poor ones, Mr. Jacobs.
I prefer to use the word marginal for the time being. And so what I think would, and I agree, yes, you have some poor ones. Let's look at what happens in other sectors of our working environment. You have some companies here in Jamaica, you start your month at $0. And at the end of the month, you're paid based off your performance. Mm-hmm. There's a matrix, there's a target, and you work for the target over the period of time, and that's how you get your salary at the end of the month. I am suggesting that a concerted effort be made to have that sort of approach be done, that teachers are paid based off the performance. It might be a bit awkward now, because you have to. It's not something that you can do overnight, because you have to really put the matrix in place and all the parameters that are going to be there for this to exist and for you to get good compensation. But for the life of me, I can't see 30 children in a classroom and all 30 are feeling with this particular teacher in a school. And when those children were in the class before, they were doing fairly well. And when they move on to the other class, you can see where that teacher is having to try so much hard to catch up on the missing year when they were with this particular teacher or this particular subject teacher who just didn't make the effort. Or is it that they weren't competent, they didn't have the capacity to do it? And so when we look at the payment structure of teachers, yes, we do agree with all of the facts that are there, that when you compare the region to what our teachers are getting here, it can be better. But in doing so, in comparing what teachers in other jurisdictions are getting, we ought to also look at what the output is. What is the output in those areas where teachers are being paid a better salary scale? That is something that ought to be done before we do those sort of comparisons. And I did say, though, that when our students are being paid, the overall, when you look at the performance, our performance is not bad. You look at PEP. Our PEP performance improved last year over the previous period, because interventions were done, and you can see where certain things were put in place for the teachers to change the way in which they were doing it. And I would say that let's not make it doom and gloom on just the salary alone for teacher compensation to darken too much the learning process that our children are now enjoying. Because we do have teachers who, despite the challenges, are really going out there and doing what I consider the honorable thing, and that is to do their job to the best way they can do it, hoping that those who are responsible will look at their performance and compensate them accordingly. And so the wider scale has to be that the performance of our students should be commiserate with the salary in which
I don't think you or I will in our lifetime see the JTA agreeing to that.
And I want to also say to Dr. Smith, I'm looking at the Patty.
If I just may, Chris, sorry.
Go ahead, Dr. Smith.
Yeah, if I just may. I know that comes from the best of intentions, as the president of the PTA National PTA would have said. But believe you me, if we want to see a collapse of the education sector, and that would not be the JTA's doing, it would be because that would be a missed opportunity for us to really tackle the fundamental issues in education and funding, and instead tend to apply a model which I would challenge you to find me a country that operates on that basis. All right? Far better would be identifying teachers who are going above and beyond the cut and incentivizing those teachers, which is something that I have called for, is something that could be discussed. I'm not saying we're there, but I'm making that engagement with the teachers to say, is that something that we're open to? You are right, Cliff, it's going to take leadership, but it's also going to require us to understand the fundamentals. First of all, I'm always very concerned when we try to come up with these hypothetical situations, right? So a number, say 30 students in a class, and I want to be exact. What is going on? Is that a pre-trained teacher? We're having teacher shortages. We're putting people in front of children who are not trained teachers. You might have a trained teacher, but the person may be new on their journey, or they may be having other type of challenges. So we have to take each case on its merit. Yeah. I caution people just saying, this is what is happening. My experience, I often find schools that have the vast majority of the teachers pulling their weight. Now, it's the administration of the schools to hold them accountable where they are failures. And it is a bit disingenuous for us to shift the blame to the teachers in this regard. Where teachers are underperforming, they report to a board, and that board must hold them accountable. All right?
We're out of time. We're out of time, unfortunately, Dr. Smith. But I do want to read for you, just before we go, a section of the Patterson report regarding that matter of funding. It reads, it says, relative to its peers, Jamaica makes an adequate financial contribution to education. That is, Jamaica's public contribution to education as a share of its GDP and as a share of its budget is in line with international norms and higher than its regional peers. And of course, the vast majority of the education budget goes to paying, as you know, salaries and benefits for teachers. But we're out of time. I suspect we'll continue.
Not for the entire system, not just teachers, education officers and the administration bureaucracy system is included in those salaries. All right? Just for, and gentlemen, always a pleasure speaking with you.
Yes, we'll continue this conversation. All the best for the new term.
All the best. All the best on the new year.
All right. President of the JTA, Dr. Mark Smith, and President of the NPTAJ, Stuart Jacobs.
After the break, Canada's Prime Minister Justin Trudeau resigned today. After the break, a Jamaican, Carlton Darby, is the leader of one of the smaller parties in Canada, and he's getting set to fight the next elections, and he's confident that he will be Canada's next Prime Minister. He's here.
GK1 now introduces third-party motor insurance from GK General Insurance. Download and log into the GK1 app, then select one of 3 affordable third-party options. The time by GK General Insurance is
2 minutes after 7.
It's flu season. Take DPH adult or children's formulation and eliminate your sniffling, coughing, sneezing, and itching. The temperature by DPH, minimize the symptoms, maximize the relief, is...
Look like the Christmas breeze done. It's 30 degrees in Kingston and 28 out west in Montego Bay.
The Watchman. Exploring issues shaping our society, government, and business. Provocative, unconventional. Dr. Henley Morgan is The Watchman.
Good evening. Keep hope alive in 2025. At the beginning of a new year, it is a tradition to greet others with hopeful words such as, wishing you a prosperous and happy new year. There's another tradition dating back 3,000 to 4,000 years to the Babylonians, the tradition of making New Year's resolutions. Do these declarative pronouncements for a better life work? Surveys have shown that by the second month of the year, about 64% of these aspirational utterances are forgotten or abandoned. So, why then persist in an activity which by the evidence is an exercise in futility? Hope is as necessary for human existence as the air we breathe. Without hope, life loses value. With nothing to look forward to, obstacles seem overwhelming. we fall into depression. Our thoughts and behavior turn self-destructive. The word for hope in the Old Testament of the Bible, kawa, is translated to wait or to look for something with joyful expectation. Far too many Jamaicans are starting the new year void of this essential ingredient. The ambitious ghetto dweller who can't land a job for no other reason than his or her address. The individual who gave his or her best to a relationship only to be abandoned, sometimes to face life as a single parent. The person working hard to earn an honest bread, which can never lift him or her out of poverty. Those who did the right things, went to school, shunned corruption, invested in a business, only to come up a loser. Those listening to this commentary from their sick bed or a prison cell, where do these go to find hope? Those of the Christian faith have a distinct advantage. Faith, by its very definition, is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. Hebrews chapter 11, verse 1, King James Version. What peace and joy it brings to be able to sing the words of this favorite hymn. My hope is built on nothing less than Jesus' blood and righteousness. I dare not trust the sweetest frame, but wholly lean on Jesus' name. His oath, his covenant, his blood support me in the whelming flood. When all around my soul gives way, he then is all my hope and stay. One of the most hopeful expressions of good wishes is the greetings of the Apostle John to his friend Gaius, found in 3 John 2, King James Version. I quote with slight amendment. Beloved, I wish above all things that in 2025 thou mayst prosper and be in health, even as thy soul prospereth. This is my New Year's wish for the listeners to this commentary. The wish speaks to prosperity in the material, but also the spiritual realm. Achieving the balance could change your New Year's resolution into a New Year's revolution. Keep hope alive in 2025. Think on these things.
Produced by Agency for Inner City Renewal, AIR, and recorded in the Jamming Studio Trenchtown, a breath of fresh air bringing change to the inner city.
Plug into the sun with Peak Energy Solutions. We are your affordable provider for everything solar. Grid tie or off-grid solar P systems, solar air conditioners, panels, lithium batteries, solar supplies, and installation. Visit us at Shop 1, 3 Mosquito Valley Road, Red Hills, St. Andrew. Call 876-279-8820 or 944-0668. Or email us at peakenergysolutionsja@gmail.com. Peak Energy for everything solar.
The Jamaica Defence Force invites members of the public to its sail and fly past at Victoria Pier, downtown Kingston, on Monday, January 13, 2025 at 9 a.m. Come and witness the JDF's assets in a brilliant display of military precision in the air and on the seas. Members of the public are being advised that ceremonial explosives will be utilized during the ceremony, but these will not pose any danger to lives or property. See you there.
Good evening. It's 8 minutes after 7 o'clock. I'm Cliff Hughes.
And I'm Ricardo Brooks.
Well, Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau says he intends to resign as leader of the ruling Liberal Party and as Prime Minister. Speaking at a news conference in Ottawa today, Trudeau said Parliament will be prorogued until March 24. He has been at the helm of the Liberal Party for 11 years and Prime Minister for 9.
Now, of course, the Canadian Prime Minister is facing a mounting set of crises, from Donald Trump's tariff threats to the resignation of key allies and a disastrous set of opinion polls. His resignation is being seen as him jumping ship before he is pushed ahead of a general election to be held later this year that he's widely expected to lose. That election must be held on or before October 20.
Trudeau was elected 3 times, most recently in 2021, when he remained in power but lost his governing majority. We have more in this report from the BBC.
Justin Trudeau has announced he's stepping down as the Prime Minister of Canada and as the leader of his party. He's been in office for 9 years. He also announced the temporary suspension of Parliament. Mr. Trudeau has been under pressure to resign for months, with more than 20 fellow members of his Liberal Party publicly urging him to go. Well, here he is making his announcement on the steps of the Prime Ministerial residence in Ottawa.
I intend to resign as party leader, as Prime Minister, after the party selects its next leader through a robust, nationwide, competitive process. Last night, I asked the President of the Liberal Party to begin that process. This country deserves a real choice in the next election, and it has become clear to me that if I'm having to fight internal battles, I cannot be the best option in that election.
Let's go now to our North America correspondent, Neda Tawfik. Neda, hello again. We watched that statement by Justin Trudeau a little earlier. Tell us more about what he had to say.
Well, Justin Trudeau said that he had discussed with his family his future. He described himself as a fighter numerous times, but as we heard there in his statement, he ultimately decided that given the internal battles within his own party, more than a dozen members of parliament calling on him to resign, that he decided he could not be the best option in the upcoming election. He said Canadians deserved a real choice. And he said that he would prorogue Parliament, so suspend Parliament until March, which would really stave off a kind of no-confidence vote in the government for some time. But Justin Trudeau, after 9 years in office, and after for months really signaling that he would push on and stay on as the leader of the Liberal Party, despite polling that showed very unfavorable ratings. Finally, he has decided that the internal battles are just too much for him to fight against. And it really came after his deputy prime minister and finance minister, Chrystia Freeland, suddenly resigned in mid-December, citing sharp criticism of Justin Trudeau and his handling of Donald Trump's threats of steep tariffs. So after the winter break, we now have the answer, Justin Trudeau deciding he will step down as soon as the Liberal Party chooses a successor.
What's next for Canada then, Neda?
Well, now we are going to see a very intense battle now for the leadership of the Liberal Party. There are already several names being circulated about who could go on to replace Justin Trudeau as leader of the party. But aside from that, Liberals are down in polling against the rival Conservative Party. And elections need to be held on or before October 20th. We could see a no-confidence vote in Parliament once it gets back in session in March. So a lot that Canada is going to be facing in the next few months as Canadians face a housing crisis, rising costs, and the threat of even more economic trouble with its relations with the United States.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Neda Tawfik, our North America correspondent.
That report from the BBC. Well, we have in our studios this evening Carlton Darby. He is an aspirant for Trudeau's job. He would love to replace Trudeau, but that's a wild card. Isn't that so, Carlton Darby, the leader of the United Progressive Party of Canada?
Cliff, thanks for having me here this evening. Thanks for breaking my vacation, but with such an important thing that has happened today,
Yes.
I appreciate you having me here.
Welcome.
Thank you. No, it's not a wild card. For 157 years, Canada has been alternating between the Liberals and the Conservatives. I strongly believe that this time, in this year, we're going to see. I do not refer to us as a third party. I always ask people, if we're a third party, who's the first party or the second party? So there's no third party, there's no first party, there's no fourth party. We are all federal parties. So I believe that the UPPC has a good chance as any other political party in Canada.
The politics is tough anywhere in the world, including Canada. Your party is only, 5-6 years old?
That's right.
And the Progressive Party, the Conservatives and the Liberals have been around for more than 150 years.
57.
You don't have the organization, you don't have the personnel, you don't have the history behind you to really mount a credible federal challenge to either of those two parties. The Conservatives are running away in the public opinion polls as much as 20 points ahead.
Right.
Yeah. You're not figuring at all. The polls I've seen in Canada, you're not even at 2-3%.
Right.
So how are you going to win?
There's a plan, there's a strategy. There are 338 riding constituencies in Canada. We call it riding. In 2015, when the Liberals won that election, they were behind in the poll. They were way back. They were very low. However, they had the organization to be able to place a candidate in every riding. I have consistently said this to my team. Goal number one is to have a candidate in every riding. Now, Cliff, what that will do is, I believe in my heart that this election is going to be a change election. If we have a candidate in every riding, by default, we have a chance as good as any.
But you don't have the organization in every riding.
I just told you, we're going to have a candidate in every riding.
Yes, but having a candidate doesn't mean you have the organization behind them. And critically, the funding behind them.
Yeah. Well, that's a very important part of the whole equation. The organization, right now as we speak, we have cells, I like to call them, in different parts of Canada, Nova Scotia, British Columbia, and I could go on and on. We have organization, we have people organization out west and in the east of Canada. Now, it is said, Cliff, that in Canada, like Jamaica, to win a riding / constituency, not to win it, to be competitive in a riding or a constituency, you must spend at least $240,000. That is the amount of money you need to be competitive. So if you extrapolate that over 338 ridings, you will see the type of funding that we're looking at. But
and you don't have that. You don't have the access to that kind of finances.
We have 6 months, Cliff. So our goal right now is to raise a modest $25 million. And I believe strongly that we can achieve that. One, we're going to ask 1 million Canadians to donate $25. We have a population of 40 million Canadians. That's $25 million. If we look at it from a different level, let us say that we ask for a donation of $100. We only need to reach 250,000 Canadians, which is, right now as we speak, We have a team of fundraisers ready to get on the phone and to start raising these funds. So that's 250,000 people we need to reach for $25 million. Extrapolate the numbers some more. A donation of $200 that is well within the reach of most Canadians. We only need to reach 125,000 people. The 2019 when we ran, there were several people that donated $1,000. And if we're looking at the level of $1,000, then we probably only need to reach 100,000.
So as
people.
of now, you have none of the 338 plus seats in the parliament.
No, we do. Not in Parliament, but as candidates.
Right, but you don't have any seat
No, we
in
don't have any
Parliament.
seat in
So you're
Parliament.
starting from ground zero, literally.
Absolutely.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Let's say, best case scenario, your financial projections pan out. I was reading on your website.
Yes.
That you were born in Jamaica.
Right.
You migrated to Canada 32 years ago.
Correct.
You grew up in Reman in Denham Town.
Right.
But you maintain that Canada is your home.
Right.
You've lived there for most of your life.
Right.
Would Canadians elect an immigrant prime minister, you think?
Okay. That's a
and let me put it to you squarely.
Sure.
A black immigrant.
Okay. So let me start here. In Canada, for the last 157 years, we have seen 23 prime ministers. For the last 157 years, alternating between liberals and conservatives. Of the 23 prime ministers, only one woman, Kim Campbell. She lasted 9 months only. What has happened in the last 2 years? Let us look at what happened in the last 2 years in terms of diversity. For the first time in 157 years, Cliff, we have a black Speaker of the House. Never happened before. For the first time in 157 years, we have an Indigenous Premier. Never happened before. For the first time in 157 years, we have a Chinese mayor for Toronto. Never happened before. And to a lesser extent, I'm going to shout out my friend, who is Jamaican. Her name is Joan. This woman ran in a place called Southgate. Now, to my Canadian friends, you know Southgate, you know Barrie. Southgate is 30 minutes north of Barrie, Cliff. Once you get to Barrie, you go white. The population is 100% white people. So 30 minutes north, we're talking about fully white Caucasian. She ran for city council and she won. She even got more votes than the guy who won as mayor.
So do I hear you correctly that you think a sort of, my word now, progressive mood is afoot in Canada?
Not afoot. We're solidly planted in. We have over 1 million Jamaicans in Canada. Our diaspora is
true,
big. And not only that, it's strong.
Except a Conservative Party, which is embracing very right-wing policy positions on things like climate, tariffs, etc., are doing well in the polls, which suggests that Canadians are not running towards liberal or progressive ideas or progressive racial politics. They're tired of those liberal ideas, those quote-unquote progressive ideas. They're running into the arms of conservatives who are more in the mold of Donald Trump. I was listening to your leader of the opposition, and we could just change his name and he could be Trump.
I would probably tell you something now that you might have misleading feelings about. As we speak, Cliff, Canadians are not willing. Why do you think Justin Trudeau lasts this long? Since the turmoil started, Canadians are not willing to go back to a conservative government. They know 90% of Canadians.
20 points ahead in the polls, though.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
That can't be fine.
It
means
fine.
that they're resonating with the public.
No.
Cost of living crisis that the Liberals have bundled.
The 20% points in the poll is money play. It's money play. So the point I want to get at is this. Canadians know what conservatism means to the country and in effect to the world. Canadians do not believe that a conservative government will serve their interests at this time. So, for example, let me talk to the issue of my opponent, Mr. Pierre Poilievre. He's a
Conservative Party leader.
Conservative Party leader. He's talking about calling an election on a carbon tax election. Cliff, I'm going to counter my profession. I'm not an economist, but the tax system in Canada I haven't seen a comprehensive review for the last 100 years. A carbon tax election is a scam. The truth is, yes, if you reduce carbon tax, it will reduce the price of food because, like Jamaica, Canadians at this point cannot buy food. Cannot. It's people would not understand. People cannot buy food. And the carbon tax is set to increase by another $15 by April, which is going to have a serious impact on the price of food again. And people don't want to see that. So this guy, he's just playing on people's emotion. What we need in Canada is a comprehensive address of the overall tax system. And I'll just make a quick example. The Canadian system is heavily reliant on production tax and less on consumption tax. Now, I'm speaking to economists. I have a team of economists that I'm working with right now as we speak to figure out, to advise me as to how we're going to do this comprehensive tax reform that is badly needed. And the two main political parties, they have been afraid to touch this.
When did you realize that the Conservatives were bad for Canada? Because you were a financial agent for the Conservative Party, right?
Right.
So when did you realize the Conservative Party was bad for
So
Canada?
let me tell you about my experience as a financial agent for the Conservative Party. I was introduced to the Conservative Party. Primarily, I vote Liberal because we believe that the Trudeau family has done extremely well for immigrants.
But you worked for Stephen Harper.
Yes, I get there for immigrants and what immigration on a whole. And I can assure all Caribbean that the United Progressive Party of Canada will be immigrant friendly. So stay tuned. We're not going to change that.
Open borders?
No, are you kidding me?
No, what does that mean? Immigrant friendly, what does that mean?
Immigrant friendly, that means we're going to have people in our country legally, not what is this Trudeau government has done. But let me speak to the issue of the Conservative.
And when you say people legally, what kind of people? What kind of skills do they need to have under your policy to migrate to Canada?
Well, there are various issues and labor shortage that we're experiencing in Canada now. Various skills. I won't speak to them individually, but Canada is a country of immigrants, right? But let me speak to this issue with Harper. So, as I said, I've never voted for a party. I vote for policies, and I hope people in Jamaica can adapt that policy as well. You know, in Jamaica, Cliff, a man born a laborite, him die a laborite. A man born a socialist, him die a socialist. Even if the party he's supporting is going to be bad for him.
Right.
I've always voted on policies that is good for me. So during the time of Stephen Harper tenure, and how I met him personally, and while he was Prime Minister, he would email me from time to time. I met him, and people were saying Steve Harper is going to be bad for Canada as a conservative. They branded him as a racist to begin with. And I said, okay, if you guys think this man is a racist, I want to look in his eyes and see for myself. I went to a political meeting, and I had opportunity to meet the man. And he looked in my eyes, and I looked in his eyes. I said, I'm going to support this man. But I was introduced to him by a lady called Audrey Walters, who is a very strong conservative, and she brought me on board, and I was her financial agent during that election campaign.
So you didn't always think the Conservatives were too conservative?
Well, I've always believed that they're too conservative.
But you worked for them. You worked for a conservative prime minister.
But it was at a time when it was needed, because the Liberal Party was just not performing like what is happening now. The country is going, Canada as a country is going to go through a change. And as I said, this is a change election, Cliff, and you know about change elections. And I believe that in a change elections, in 2015, when Justin Trudeau won, it was a change election. I give you one story. Because they're organized and they have candidates in every riding, there were at least 2 people, and this is documented in the papers, that they just put their names on the ballot. And they won, because people were not looking at the specific candidate. They were looking at the party, and it's a change election. One lady was in Mexico on the night when she won. Never campaigned.
Let me ask you, because we're running out of time, Carlton Darby.
Yes, sir.
Yes. You went to Canada 32 years ago.
Right.
Right. You grew up in West Kingston.
Right.
Yes. And apart from that, very little is known about you. You did say you're an accountant.
Right.
By training. Where did you go to school in Jamaica?
So my first school was Miss Kelly, Denham Town Primary, Tivoli Garden Comprehensive High. At Tivoli Garden Comprehensive High, I represented the school. I was third island-wide in the quiz and science competition. And then I migrated to Canada. I went to Humber.
At what age you left Jamaica?
I left Jamaica right after the '89 election. As I said,
so
my.
You were, how old were you then?
I'm in my 20s.
Okay.
In my 20s, my ex-wife worked in the office of the Prime Minister when Edward Seaga was Prime Minister, and because of that, I can confidently say that I have a good understanding of politics. I speak to my team right now, Cliff, about how they steal elections. I've seen it happen. The same thing that happened in Jamaica in terms of politics. It's not exclusive to Jamaica. It happens in Canada too.
Where they steal elections.
So the premier of Ontario, the last time he ran, this man decided to declare license plate, no more paying for license plate. So you don't have to pay for your license plate anymore. He won by a landslide. An election is coming up again this year by the same man. And he's offering every Ontarian a $200 tax break. That's tantamount to buying votes. It's not exclusive to Jamaica, and it's just that it's done in a different way. I heard a pastor preach, Prophet Kofi, and he was saying that, people talk about Nigeria is corrupt, people talk about Jamaica is corrupt, but Canada is equally as corrupt as Nigeria or Jamaica. It's just that they do it differently.
Are you fluent in French?
No.
Isn't that a disadvantage?
No.
Why not?
That's a very good question. But let me answer the question about immigrant. So in Canada, there were 4 prime ministers previously that weren't born in Canada. Because when I speak to particularly black people in Canada, the first thing they ask me, were you born here? I said, no, but you don't have to born here. So there were 4 prime ministers. The last one, our first prime minister, MacDonald, 1867, he wasn't born in Canada. The living one now is Joe Clark. He wasn't born in Canada. This is not a language election. So my attitude is, I've seen Prime Minister Harper, because I work closely in the campaign, he never speak French. And he spent hours learning the language. This is not a language election. So I believe that when I go to Quebec, Cliff, 80% of the internet...
Could you finish that thought? When you go to Quebec, what happens then? How do you engage with those voters?
Yeah. But I want to qualify it by saying this. 80% of the internet, anything on the internet, is in English. So they all know English. And I have very good...
But they also have a very strong cultural disposition to those who can speak French and who are fluent in French.
So, Cliff,
it's almost a prerequisite of federal national leaders in Canada that you must speak French.
Because I believe your Supreme Court justices have to be bilingual now.
Anyone working for the government, there's a requirement for French. But all this French thing...
So you're going to be Prime Minister, you can't talk French.
All this French thing...
And when you call it the French thing, it's your second official language.
So, it is. But what I'm saying is that the emphasis on French was introduced by Pierre Trudeau because we were English, right? And to appease the separatists in those days, they make French a second language. It is just an appeasement for those people. People say to me that, if you cannot speak French, you
because
cannot
at the
win.
time they saw the rise of the Black Quebecois party.
Absolutely, absolutely. But that's not that party is literally dead. It's literally dead now, Cliff. So the argument about French and all that, 8% of whatever we have on the internet is in English. But the French thing is maintained to appease these people. So people say to me, if you cannot articulate in French, you cannot win. Because you need Quebec. Quebec is a second as the second largest number of seats, right? And I said, no, I can win because I know Quebecers will vote for me, one. But if I win everything else and a few Quebecers, I can win the election. Yeah, because Ontario is the biggest province with the most votes. And if I clean sweep Ontario, then the rest, I just need to pick some there, and I'm good.
But you're being delusional, frankly.
Okay.
What do you mean sweep Ontario? When you're 20 points, when the Conservatives are 20 points ahead
the
of the
Liberals. Did it
Liberals.
Cliff.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Well, what are you saying to Canadians to convince them that you have a plan to deal with the problems of the cost of living crises they're facing, not to mention the threat south of the border now posed by Trump? And
So-
what is that going to mean for the Canadian economy? What are you saying to Canadians?
I see your manifesto says student loan debt forgiveness,
Right.
reform the Canada tax code,
Right.
affordable housing,
Right.
livable wages versus minimum wages, indigenous people. But there are no specifics here. You sort of just give a broad overview. And as Cliff said, 20 points ahead, Conservatives running away with it, Trudeau in trouble. I'm not seeing anything on this website that tells me Canadians will turn to you as the solution.
I've faced this question and these sentiments all the time, and
And you still haven't fixed the website?
And I said, stay tuned. The manifesto is not out yet. Election is not called yet.
But with being so
manifesto is
far
not,
down in the polls, though, wouldn't you want Canadians to have a strong sense of who you are, what your party stands for, so that when that time comes, come October, they know what they're voting for with the UPPC?
I am the only political party leader that was ever invited on a reserve. Only. That is for the indigenous people. No one else. And the chief told me, he said, Carlton, we're going to allow you on this reserve because we believe in you.
But they don't win elections for parties, do they?
But they're going to come out and vote. Cliff.
Yeah, but they don't. They don't
Cliff,
have the numbers
Cliff,
to influence
Cliff,
the outcome of the election.
Cliff,
Yes.
like Jamaica, it's only 30% of the people vote. So this is part of our strategy.
Yeah.
Only 30% of the people vote. So in the riding that I represented,
The turnout on your voters' roll is 30%?
30%. The highest we ever have is 50%. And it was when Chrétien saved Canada from separating. I can't remember what year it was.
Your voter turnout averages 30%.
30%.
We're checking that.
Yes,
No, man.
absolutely.
In 2019, you had 50.
There you go.
No.
But unless you're challenging these statistics, but in
50% in what?
in
Turnout?
your federal elections, yes.
Yeah.
But on an average, it's 30%. And an average is 30%. The turnout is 30%. We talk about it all the time in Canada. Look at the average. Maybe 50 was that.
I don't think that would be correct either. 62, 67, 68, 61, 58, 64, 60, 61, 67, 69, 71.
What website are you on?
I am on
Elections
Canada.
Okay.
And voter turnout, there's no year here that I'm seeing it dipping below.
Well, we are
50.
We are talking about 157 years. The average
This goes
voter,
all the way back to 1867.
That's right.
Yeah, the
When
date of
is
the first one,
election,
right.
So
And it's never dipped below 50. In fact, not below 60. It's not dipped below 60.
and an average, the
So it couldn't be 30. So the average of that, I'm not really good at math, but the average of that could not be 30.
No, I don't think you have that correct, Mr. Darby.
Would that be at least 60%?
Okay.
At least.
You can't just skim it over. I'm telling you.
No, I'm looking at it. I'm telling you. I've gone
But
all
you're looking at a
the
few
way
years.
back to the 7th of August, 1867, which is the first.
The first election.
Right.
And also
that was
the biggest-
73.1%, and the
largest-
most recent one, 62.6%.
The largest turnout we had in many years is when we had the vote on the language.
All right,
So
we're
if you
out
look
of
at
time.
That's
Continent.
79%.
And I must ask you, today, the election results in America were certified on the 4th anniversary of the January 6th Capitol attacks.
Right.
Donald Trump will be president in another 13, 14 days. Donald Trump tweeted again today, or posted on Truth Social, that he wants Canada to be the 51st state of the United States of America. He mocked the resignation of Trudeau. What is your position on that issue? Do you agree with Trump? What is your position?
Agree with Trump, Chris?
I'm asking. I'm asking for the record.
Cliff, Donald Trump is Donald Trump, and he does what he do. I'm in touch with the Trump team. I'm in touch with them. I am looking forward for my invitation to be at the inauguration on January 20th. That will, read my lips, never happen. Canada will not be, whether under my leadership or any other leader of the other party, will not be. It's a joke. He's just so like he called the other leaders that they are governors. He's just joking. I am embarrassed. You know, Cliff. Canada.
You're embarrassed for what?
I'm embarrassed that Trump is playing such a joke on my country. And as soon as I get an audience with him, I'm saying, Donald, stop. I'll tell the Donald right now, just stop. In 1991, the first Gulf War.
You're really holding out hope that you're going to get that inauguration invitation?
I'm not holding out hope. I'm in contact with them. In 1991,
And you've been promised the invitation.
In 1991,
the inauguration is 14 days away.
I know. In 1990,
have you been promised the invitation?
I'm in contact with them.
Have you been promised the invitation?
I'm not going to go into the details. I'm in contact. In
But may I suggest to you that you ain't going to get it?
Yeah.
With 14 days
14 days to go.
A high security
Those invitations
event would have gone out
out
already.
long ago.
Okay, well, we'll see. We'll see. In 1991, Canada was the first army to shut down an Iraqi jet. We have a powerful army, and that's all I'll say.
Yeah, but no match for the U.S. Army.
We're not saying that we're a match. We're brothers. America will never attack Canada and vice versa. So we don't have a problem where that is concerned. People can say different things. We're good. We're good. And Donald is a good leader. I respect him as well. And I look forward to meeting him. I look forward to meet Putin. I look forward to meet the Chinese leader. They're meddling in our waters in the Arctic region, and they better stop it, because under my leadership, I am going to build one of the strongest army Canada will ever see in its history. Canada is not going to be looked as a pushover country anymore.
Do you expect China and Russia to interfere in the elections coming up?
It has happened. We have put things in place to mitigate that possibility, but there is always interference. They interfere in the U.S. election, so they will try. But there are things in place that will mitigate their interference.
Wouldn't that make your quest harder? Your bid if they interfere?
No, it would not. It would not impact on the outcome. It will not.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Carlton Darby.
All the best.
Jamaican boy from Denham Town in West Kingston, migrated to Canada 32 years ago. A graduate of Tivoli Gardens Comprehensive High School.
And Humber College.
And Humber College in Canada or the U.S.? Canada. And he has ambitions of leading Canada. He's a leader and the founder of the United Progressive Party of Canada.
They say they're dedicated to implementing forward-thinking solutions to complex issues and ensuring that Canada remains a beacon of opportunity
and look at our mission
on
statement.
The global stage. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much, Mr. Darby. All the best.
Thank you, Cliff, and keep up the good job.
You're welcome.
And we listen to you in Canada all the time.
Oh, that's a good habit.
Yes, it is.
And when you become Prime Minister, don't forget, you need to give us an interview here.
Well, you are the first now, and I will make you a promise that when on that day, and you will be at our inauguration.
Oh,
we'd love to do an outside broadcast. We'd love to do an outside broadcast from Ottawa.
Thank you very much, Mr. Darby.
Thank you, sir.
Good. Time for the break.
Multi-link, access every time, everywhere I go. Multi-link, 24/7 access for me. It's just a win-win when we use Multi-link. This card is Jamaican built, yeah. Fast and secure, you can use anywhere. Spend while supporting the economy. Look for the Multi-link logo on your card and benefit from Jamaica's largest debit payment network. Multi-link, 24/7 access for me.
What would I do without my Multi-link?
Z Jamaica Robotics Conference, Tuesday, January 7, 2025, 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. at the Jamaica Pegasus Ballroom, celebrating the achievements of over 100 students and teachers who have achieved certification. Special guest speaker, Dr. Denzel Williams. Presentation by Zebra Robotics Canada. Sponsors, Lasco, Mothers, and Optimity. Tickets available for purchase at ztechnologies.aitix.com or contact 876-880-3301 or 876-499-3157. And tune in to Cliff Hughes Online from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. as we broadcast live from the Z Robotics Conference, Tuesday, January 7, 2025, at the Jamaica Pegasus Ballroom. All this and more only on Nationwide 90 FM, the new revolution in media. This broadcast is brought to you by Z Technologies.
13 minutes going up to 11. Time now. No, 13 minutes going up to 8 o'clock. Time now.
Did you say 11?
Feedback. Yes. You know the numbers to call us, 876-630-937124 or 618-8255. Give us a call.
Do you have a consumer-related issue? Want to learn more about matters concerning you as a consumer? Well, keep it locked to Nationwide 90 FM for the Consumer Hour with me, Nora Gay Banton. Weekdays from 9 to 10 a.m. For all your consumer-centric matters, stay tuned to the Consumer Hour on Nationwide 90 FM, a revolution in media.
Z Jamaica Robotics Conference, Tuesday, January 7, 2025, 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. at the Jamaica Pegasus Ballroom, celebrating the achievements of over 100 students and teachers who have achieved certification. Special guest speaker, Dr. Denzel Williams. Presentation by Zebra Robotics Canada. Sponsors, Lasco, Mothers, and Optimity. Tickets available for purchase at ztechnologies.aitix.com or contact 876-880-3301 or 876-499-3157. And tune in to Cliff Hughes Online from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. as we broadcast live from the Z Robotics Conference, Tuesday, January 7, 2025, at the Jamaica Pegasus Ballroom. All this and more only on Nationwide 90 FM, the new revolution in media. This broadcast is brought to you by Z Technologies.
We're taking your calls now. You know the number, 630-937-124, 618-8255. Bobby, you're up first. Good evening.
Good evening, Ricardo. Good evening, Cliff.
Good evening. Good evening.
Yes. Happy New Year.
And to you. To you.
And I should also say happy belated birthday to you.
Thank you very much, Bobby.
And also my son.
Okay.
The both of you celebrate birthday on the same day.
Oh. He's gonna make you proud.
Well, I really don't want him to go into the field of journalism like his father is a politician, because I can't take two of you on the air. Yes. I was listening to the interview with you and Mr. Darby a short while ago, and something jumped out at me, and I only hope the Jamaican people listen to this. He says that he votes on policy, right? And when I look and I see where Prime Minister Andrew Holness has taken this country from, and while he is Prime Minister from 2016 until now, we go through the worst pandemic, and he still keep the country afloat. He is the only Prime Minister I know of that civil servant never go home throughout the pandemic. He set up a work-from-home policy so they can still earn a livable wages from home. And he is building back Jamaica from the 18 years of mismanagement from the previous administration. And yet still, some people, they are talking as if, say, boy, this young man is not doing enough. I agree that, look here, that the word need to go out more to the people, and I really accept what Miss Morrison is doing, because she has been putting it out there. But the young man is doing an excellent job, right? And I know for sure, Cliff, this is our victory year. And I am certain, and I know, that after the next general election, he will return as a third-term Prime Minister, because we all see the good job, what he's doing.
Okay.
All right, Bobby.
Good.
Liberator are confident, They're confident, man. Them say the third term loading.
Oh.
I heard you this morning talking about the realignment that you expect. Yeah. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting, because we're going to see whether 2020 was a fluke or whether that is now the permanent state of affairs.
Politics, there are cycles, ebbs and flows. And 2020 was, I think, one in which it was all about Andrew. Yeah? And COVID and his government's management of COVID. Yeah? landed him in a very good place politically.
Yes.
He was at the peak of his political power. And as such, the Labour Party came home with 49 of the 63 seats. Yeah? Several of those seats the Labour Party don't normally win. And I expect with a PNP better organized, more united, that the PNP will win back some of those seats. And therein lies the realignment of which I speak. Yeah? Now, the key issue, as I said this morning, can the PNP take back 18 of those 49 seats to get over the finish line of 32?
It's a tall order.
Very tall order. Yeah? And especially in light of a government that has performed nationally, has a record to run on, yeah, and then come late the next 12 weeks when the budget is read, yeah, and they offer more goodies to the Jamaican people. I don't know if the PNP can withstand what is coming.
630-9371-4 probably can squeeze one more in. Of course, on YouTube, Marcia said it's going to be a clean sweep.
Of what?
Sweep of what? I suppose she's saying the Labour Party is going to sweep clean.
Well,
Mikhail said there are interesting times ahead. Donovan says take back 18 and don't lose any of the 14. That's what the PNP has to do.
Which is crucial.
Yes, tall
they
order.
Have to hold all of their 14.
Yeah.
Yeah?
You need a massive swing, upwards of 6% across the country.
But there was a time in the politics, Ricardo, when that would not be so tall because Jamaica tended to vote as one constituency. Yeah? You look at most of the elections we have had prior to 2007, yeah, and even to go, if you could go further to 2001, when the JLP won 34, the PNP won 34-26.
That was 2002.
2002, right? Before that, the winning party would just win the entire country, yeah. That I suspect is changing, yeah. And it's part of the realignment that is taking place in the politics.
Yeah, and I sense a lot more local issues are coming into play.
Precisely.
And quality of local representation in terms of what the Member of Parliament offers. That's being considered more. I get that sense. Yes.
Yeah. So I don't anticipate that we're going to see, come later this year, one party doing a clean sweep as we saw before.
I think the party that ultimately prevails will take between 35 and 38. That's what I expect.
Yeah. Anywhere between 33, 35, 37.
Yeah.
Max. Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah. All right. That's how we're going to leave it this evening. They would love for you and I to go on and that, but we're going to have enough time to do that later in the year. That's how we're going to leave it. Thanks so much to our producer, Dana Davey, our caller, Bobby. Of course, our YouTubers. Yes, you see they light up the YouTube, chatting away. Thanks to members of the news and production team. By the way, let me tell you about that gentleman, Shadane Bennett, who was on top of the transport center. I have been told that he has been taken to the Kingston Public Hospital for medical attention. So after he came down from atop the transport center in Halfway Tree, he was taken by the police and a medical team attended to him at KPH. So that's why we didn't see him this evening. I don't know if we'll get a chance to hear from him tomorrow. But that is the situation with Mr. Bennett. Okay? I'm Cliff Hughes.
And I'm Ricardo Brooks.
Reminding you, take care of your loved one and look out for your neighbor. Good night.
Good night.
Every time, everywhere I go.